No way. I didn't beat Phil here. That can't be.
Yeah, you beat Phil, but look who beat you. Levi B. Davis.
He does that?
Right.
Hello, Levi.
Yeah, finally, Mark. You did. Yeah. I should have put a message in there.
What?
Drat.
Well,
Phyllis.
Or Levi or what?
What?
Everybody beats me. Nobody. I can't be the first one.
I can't be the first. I was the first one last week. I want you to know.
I know.
I got to shut off Andy Griffith.
Uh-oh.
It's the only show I watch anymore.
Now watch out. He's got some bad advice about being a good parent.
Ooh, yeah. Sometimes. Well, it's not the great. It's got some issues in it for sure, but it's a lot better than what's on. There's nothing good on it at all.
He comes over as like a gentle giant, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
It's like. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we watched every one of them in retrospect, but
yeah, well, Netflix, that was their number one show, and they didn't want to admit it. This was a while back. They didn't want to admit it, but it was for the longest time, and you know what Netflix is into, so it's just interesting. They're, what people really want, they don't want all that other foolishness. So, but anyway, well, you beat me, fellas. But then it looks like where'd Levi go? Levi took off.
Left. He couldn't stand the heat.
Yeah. How you doing? Doing good?
I'm doing great. Yesterday,
awesome.
Not so good, but today I don't have any pain. My mouth isn't sore. Hi, Levi. Glad you came back. The sores in my mouth are not bothering me so much, and I'm doing good today. Levi,
did you run off because Phyllis was being mean to you? I was going to come to your aid, but
I'm such a mean person.
I missed it all because I could barely hear you guys. That's why I jumped back off to come back on. Now I can hear you guys clear.
Good.
Phyllis, you beat me last night. And I go, darn that, Phyllis is my mortal enemy. And my wife goes, how dare you say that? I was messing around, of course.
How's my hair?
That's fun.
Hello.
Hello, Yummy and Roll. Hello. Yeah, Phil, you don't want to be cursing any one of Yahuwah's people.
Exactly.
Hi, Yummy. I was just telling everybody I feel great today.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wonderful to hear.
Thank you.
Good.
Praise Yah.
Are we on 9?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
We what?
On chapter 9, Luke.
9.
Oh. Yeah, chapter 9. Phil, have you made your wife's coffee yet? I'm waiting for my husband to bring mine.
Yes, I did. Tell Lou that he's slacking.
I will.
Supposedly there's going to be a big Vietnam didn't have very good coffee harvest, so it's going to go up again. It's already gone up a lot. The coffee I get my wife's like almost doubled.
What kind of coffee you get her?
Oh, it's an organic ground coffee. I can show you, but I can't remember the name.
They have gone up a lot of money because we buy organic coffee too, and it's incredible. I try to buy it when it's on sale, and I buy 2 or 3 of them because it's almost like $13 for the little bag.
Yep. That's what mine is. So that might be the same. Is it a red bag? Is it a red bag? It comes in. He must be. I don't know. Oh yeah. This is. I'll show you ours.
Last year they were like $6, and now they
supposedly organic, but who knows? That's I don't know. We get it at some health food store, so who knows? She likes it, so
yeah, we try to eat as much organic as we can afford.
yeah. I mean, the way they're spraying chemtrails, I mean, it's hard to, but at least it's better than all the pesticides.
Hey, Phil.
It's coffee.
Yeah.
Here it is.
It's coffee time.
I got my coffee.
Yeah.
So that's
Oh,
what
good.
he gives his wife for coffee.
Yeah, it looks like this.
He and Ro both use organic coffee.
Yeah, good.
Matches my cup.
Yami says she's about to brew a cup because you guys are making him feel like having coffee.
Good grief. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is basically $1 an ounce
Yeah.
when it's not on sale.
Wow.
I know.
Ooh, this is good.
Yeah.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah. Made with love.
Lou
I don't know.
likes to blend coffees together. He likes to get a flavored coffee and blend it with. But we try to get organic also.
Yeah. I don't it's called Equal Exchange coffee. But I don't drink coffee. I'm a teacher, but I don't drink it. So my
Well,
wife.
don't let the other teachers know.
Yeah. A lot of teachers drink coffee, so I drink tea, iced tea, so about the same.
We drink espresso coffee every once in a while. My heritage is Cuban coffee is really Italian from the little Italian. Here, I'll show you. 1 second.
No, you aren't smoking those cigars, are you?
No, I don't.
No, I know you.
You see, you make them in these.
Oh, steep them in that.
That's how we make it. Yeah, this
Got
makes enough like for 2 people.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
What it just steeps through there and
It's espresso.
comes through the bottom. Ah,
You put your coffee there. You fill this with water. You drop it in here. You put it on the stove.
Looks pretty fancy.
It's a lot of your Italian places, and then you see it percolates through here.
That's cool.
Ah,
cool.
that is neat.
Like an old-fashioned percolator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
How's Lou preparing your coffee, Phyllis? Mr. Coffee?
Yep.
Basically, yeah.
That's what we use too.
It's a $30.
So you're much more sophisticated, Yami, than we
No,
are.
but that's only every once in a while, because that coffee there, you really, you can't drink a cup of it.
Right.
It's
Espresso.
in very small amounts, and like if you warm up milk and then you put a little bit of that coffee in it, and it's called café con leche, coffee and milk,
Gotcha.
or milk with coffee.
Did you say cappuccino? What did you say?
More or less, yeah, it's very similar.
What was the word you said?
Oh no, the word I said was café con leche, which is it's like a latte. If you've ever
Kind
had
of like
latte.
cafe a latte or a latte.
Yeah. Café con leche.
You don't have the accent, Phyllis.
Sorry.
You can't. I can't say it either.
Whistles is out.
We're going to have a beautiful day. It's supposed to go up to 72 today.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's beautiful over here too.
See about this Quran.
Yeah, what's that Quran?
I was wondering why we have somebody showing us a Quran when we don't use the Quran.
Oh,
Who is?
You want to talk about? May as well get the Book of Mormon involved, huh?
We're not Mormon, we're not Muslim, we're not Hindu. We don't follow the Quran. Just for everybody watching, I want them to know.
Yeah.
Who flashed it up there? Is it up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh.
This Shaul Israel is showing us a
Yeah, just Google Quran pictures, and it'll show up those kind of things right there.
Hey, hi, Josh.
How's it going, guys?
Good, how are you?
Look really fat in this. This angle of this picture shows me looking really fat. I'm not this fat, guys.
Lou put one of those trick covers on your phone or on your computer.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always told the gym manager, I said, you got to put one of those mirrors that when I walk in, it notices me. And then the mirrors, wow, I need to work out. And then when I leave, wow, that workout really worked well because it changes. You know what I mean? he just shook his head. He goes, that is kind of a good idea.
I have an exciting announcement today. I don't think my son would be embarrassed if he knew I was doing this, but he's not listening. But my son is keeping and observing Sabbath today, and it's been a long road to get him to here. He was immersed when he was young, and he kind of, and he's back to it now. He's on board. I think it's making the recordings of the scriptures had an influence. He's reading it and going, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be keeping Sabbath, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good to hear. I like to hear things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it made my day. And Liz, we're just,
So happy.
we can't get over it.
How far along is he on his CD?
Well, he kind of got stuck in the middle of what's the last one he's doing?
It's what you call Eureka. It's actually
No, he finished that one.
Oh, he finished Eureka.
Bamidbar.
Yeah,
He's
in the wilderness.
yeah, he's about just really chapter 4, but he's had some life experiences that have really knocked him down.
Yeah. Stay back. No, quit doing that. Sorry.
Wait, he had to get a sewer line cleaned out all the way to the street, I guess, and that was like $17,000.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then he had to have a big tree cut down from his, so it wouldn't happen again.
It was 3 feet in diameter.
It was 3 feet in diameter, but he had to get through all that. That kind of threw him back a little bit, but he's going to get back on it.
Man, oh man, 17 grand. Now he needed a new pipe, or he just got it cleared out.
He had to have it all dug out and a new pipe replaced because the pipe was broken and in pieces.
Sure.
Yeah, we had to have that done in our basement a couple years ago. So it was a big deal. They had to dig up the whole basement foundation and just to get to the pipe. And
that's what we went through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big deal. So
yeah, everything's more expensive today.
And then we also had to do the tree thing, and we found a guy who didn't even use machines or nothing. He just gets up in the tree and just cuts it down piece by piece. And these are tall 90-foot trees. Yeah. And he's just all the way to the top of it. And, those guys amaze me, man. I couldn't do that. Jim.
Well, they had to get a big crane out for Adam's tree. That wasn't so much money, but wow, that's 17,000. It really threw him back. But reading the scriptures and doing the recordings, it's renewing his mind. And he's remembering all the things that Lou and I taught him when he was young.
Good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. What do you?
I know that works for me too. When I get down and out about something, I always refer to the scriptures, and it seems to have an effect.
Is that Quran up there?
Yeah, the Quran is still there.
Yeah.
I wonder if Mark can say something to our buddy about the Quran.
It's not the Holy Quran. It's set by scriptures. It was produced by First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ. As I said prior, is an edition that contains the books that were left out, like Ecclesiasticus, Jasher, Enoch.
Oh, no.
That's what this is. It's the set apart scriptures. It's not the Quran.
That's good to know, because it certainly looks like it. But that's good to know.
But it's not. It's the set apart scripture or the Holy Scriptures.
Well, thank you so much for letting us know that.
By First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Does it have the name?
No, it's
Yahuwah's name.
It's an English translation.
Oh,
okay. It's an English translation.
Does it have the name?
No. It's an English translation.
It's got lower.
It's an English translation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm of understanding that one is not condemned for not properly pronouncing the name. That's one's particular preference if they choose to pronounce the name of the creator in a certain fashion. I don't condemn no one for using Lord, God, or Jesus.
Nobody's condemning anybody. It's just not right.
I'm just saying where I'm coming from, or what school of thought I'm coming from.
Right.
It's an English translation.
Yeah.
I choose to pronounce the name of the creator as Yahweh. That's me. I choose to pronounce the name of the creator as Yahweh.
You're on the road.
I choose to pronounce it as Yahuwah.
That's better than so much better than using pagan names. When you say,
if it has a preface, it'll explain that the translators removed his name and inserted a device.
Yeah.
And that's the highest blasphemy that I can think of for anybody to do. And it's because they don't obey his commandments. They don't even know what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lou's right, though. If you Google image the Quran, the front of the Quran, there's several different. Yeah, I'm seeing hundreds of the exact same symbol on the front of their books.
Yeah.
All right, you go to truthofgod.com and look on the tab that says Holy Scriptures, and you'll see.
Oh, thank you. Hey.
Truthofgod.com.
One more?
Please.
Okay.
I believe you, Shaul. I just, if you Google image the Quran, you'll see images just like what's on the front of your book.
Yeah. He's explaining that's why Lou thought it was a Quran.
Yeah, it's not. It's the set-apart scriptures. It consists of the books that were left out. The book of Jasher, the book of Enoch.
Well, the reason those books were left out is because there's no proof of who really wrote those books. Because some of the books were written after Yahushua came and died, and it can't be having been written by the people they claim that it's written by.
I respectfully disagree, sister. I believe they're inspired scripture. Myself and others believe they're inspired scripture.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the book of scriptures. Oakley. No. Stop that.
The bird's quiet today, man.
I was just going to say that. You beat me
Usually,
to it.
Usually it's saying something.
Yeah. He's probably got him covered up.
Yeah, I do. I still have him covered up. Yeah, she must be asleep. I got up pretty early. I didn't sleep in like I like to sleep in on the Shabbat.
So when the cage,
huh?
When the cage is covered, she'll just go completely silent.
Oh no, she chirps like a canary sometimes. It just depends.
Okay, tell everybody bye bye.
I need to take it off there. Okay.
Tell everybody bye bye. I love you.
I've got a Dan thing going on.
Oh, that's right. Lou's going to be having a conversation with Dan today, so he'll have that video to put out.
Yeah, she was asleep. She gets all ruffled up when she sleeps. So, yeah, she was sleeping. Can you say hi? Say good morning, Casper. Good morning. He's quiet.
So does she make noises during the night, or is she
No,
just asleep?
no, she doesn't. But there's I can't remember what the bird's called, but some of them just scream bloody murder at night. I can't remember which one it is. Macaw, maybe. I'm not sure. Thankfully, she's really, really a good bird. She's like so mild tempered and just, nothing really gets her too stirred up. I could put new things in the cage and she doesn't get all worried. Sometimes when we got her, she was talking before we pulled out of the driveway of the house where we got her from. And the guy told us, oh yeah, she probably won't talk for a while because, getting moved. She was talking in their little portable cage. So yeah, she was pretty adaptable, which is good. My one friend got one and his bird plucked all her feathers off, almost all of them. They get mad and get temperamental and they'll do that. She's never done that.
They get lonely too. We had a parakeet that did that. We got another parakeet for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Kate.
Yeah. My wife's here a lot, so I don't, she's, there's people around all the time. So the house she came from, they had like 10 kids. So.
Hey, I have a pit bull. My son has a pit bull. He's looking for a good home for.
Oh, he didn't want him anymore?
Oh, he's destructive. He rescued him because he found out he was being kept in cages all his life. So he said, let's get him and let's take care of him. But he's a pit bull.
Yeah.
He's just bossy and hard to, he won't listen.
Yeah.
Hard-headed.
Independent. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there she made a noise. Ah. Good morning, Casper. Yeah, she's not saying anything. Yeah, our neighbor has a rescue, and it's great that people do that, but you got to spend so much time. And this dog just barks constantly, so it's not good. Yeah, he just barks and barks and barks. And I'll go out in the yard, and he just barks at me, and he's known me for 2 years or so. And usually dogs, I get along with all dogs, but this one, I don't know. There's something going on with him. Not sure. Then, of course, he taught Oakley to bark. So, because none of my dogs have ever barked very much, but this dog taught Oakley well to bark, although we've got it under control now. But, yeah, it was frustrating, trust me. She said hi. Did you guys hear that?
Mm-hmm. I did.
What did you say, Casper? Back up, she said. Phyllis, you must be too close to the screen. No, I know. It was Levi that was too close to the screen.
Oh, Levi.
No, I don't think she can see. I'm just messing with you. No, but I'll tell her, like when she's by the door, I'll have her back up. I'm going to open the door up and, so that she gets that back up. One day she said door for like 2 hours, drove my wife crazy. She would just say door. There she goes.
That's pretty.
By the time you woke up, yeah, her and I will get into whistling contests. It's pretty funny. She's showing off now.
Mm-hmm.
Back up. And you want me to back up so you can see him? There you go, Jasper. Hi. Pretty bird.
What other kind of dog do you have besides Oakley?
That's it. We had a Yorkie.
Oh.
We had a Yorkie my wife had a Yorkie. Everybody teased me. I'd walk the Golden and then the Yorkie, of course, that little shrimp. And, I see you got your wife's dog there, and that little Yorkie must be your dog, Phil. I go, no. But she'd sleep, like when I was asleep, she'd sleep on top of my head. She was my coonskin cat.
Oh.
It was hilarious. Yeah.
That's cute.
Yep. She passed along with Heather Golden. Then we got Oakley here. So Oakley's the Lone Ranger. So I don't know how these people with 4 or 5 dogs do it. Going to the vet would be, you'd end up broke.
Yeah, every time I think I would like another dog, I always look at the financial aspect.
Oh,
because I have 2. You can't afford to go, especially if one has medical needs. You just can't afford to do it anymore.
No, you can't. It's so expensive. Drop $500 like nothing. It's just like good grief.
Yep.
And then
both of mine are rescues. And
okay, so yeah.
True. Yep. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
But they're really good. Actually, I think Rosie's very, very grateful to be rescued. She always acts like she's walking on eggs, like I don't want to do anything wrong and mess this up because I got it good here.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, and then these golden doodles, the groomers want $150 to cut their hair, and I thought that's not going to happen. So I got one of those. It's almost like a Flowbee for dogs. It's got a vacuum in it, and it's on the clippers, and I can do it right in the house. You can just sit here and I can just do it. It works good.
Well,
now,
sure.
He's not a show dog, so I'm not going to spend $150 for, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they look at it like that's a deal. They think that's a deal. I mean, it does take a lot of time to do it. So I understand why they want the money, but I'm not going to spend $150 every 2 months on Oakley to cut his hair. I mean, good grief.
Sure.
So anyway.
Hey, Lou wants to read you a letter from a brother.
Okay.
Yeah, he needs help. He's also homeless. He's about my age. There's his address. David Herman. It's backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, it's backwards.
Yeah, he's a believing Yehudi. He's living in Colorado. Brother Lou and family. With all the HE double hockey sticks I've been going through now, on top of it all, my beloved dog Spirit has died. He stopped breathing on EASTER morning on the 31st. After a battle with diabetes, a bad liver, and arthritis in his hind legs. Almost 10 years old, almost 9 years with me. Anyway, he looks like a wolf. This dog is a beautiful dog. It's a pure white, but it's asleep now. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, he says, this is a real serious tears in a bottle moment, The man is really hurting now. Anyway, he says, my heart is broken. My only family here, and my best and oldest and only real friend is gone. I'm truly all alone. He lives in his car. It's an over 200,000 mile mileage Toyota, and he lives in a borrowed tent in Colorado. Anyway, my God, Yahuwah, why have you forsaken me? Anyway, he's
Psalm 22.
Psalm 22 and Matthew 26. And it says, David of the royal tribe of Yehuda, spirit has died in my arms. I commit his spirit to Yahuwah. We will be together again.
The man just wants I didn't know you were through.
When the earth is made new, till then my heart aches with sorrow. Please pray for me. I don't know how much more I can take.
He's been looking for a place where he can go and be a worker, a help around the house to somebody. Maybe has a farm or something.
But he's about 75 years old, but he's in good health. You know, he lives in a tent in the wilderness. Yeah. And he writes to me about once a month. He just needs a home. It'll probably be easier for him to find someone to take him as a worker somewhere now that he doesn't have this dog with him, because some people can't manage dogs. You know, it's just beyond their scope of ability, you know. But now he's just all alone, totally alone. And his heart aches. I just opened this morning.
Sorry.
That kind of breaks my heart to hear that. So
Yeah.
I'm very,
Sure.
I'll definitely keep him in my thoughts and prayers. And
And if you do send him any condolences or financial help of any kind, don't write the address backwards like I showed it to you. There it is.
Okay. I take a picture of that and hold it up to the mirror.
Yeah, he's a good person. He's been writing to me for 15 years at least. Just staying in touch. Yeah. I think I was supposed to show you that today, because I opened it this morning, you know.
Well, you just put a damper on everybody's mood.
Oh, I'm just bumming everybody. Yeah.
Hey, Lou, what was the city? What was that city?
Oh, Cedar Edge. It's
You could read the address.
yeah, only backwards. Let's see.
No, you can read it out loud.
Yeah, I'm gonna spell it. To you.
I can put it
Here
in
it is.
the chat room.
His name
Wait a
is
minute. He's
Dave.
trying to get a pen.
David.
Yeah, put it in the chat room because I don't think. I mean,
I'll put it in the chat room.
David Herman.
Thanks.
HERMAN. P.O. Box 1101. Here it comes.
Cedar Edge.
Yeah, CEDE. It's CEDAR Edge EDGE. It's all one word. It's like Cedar, CEDAR EDGE.
P.O. Box 1101.
Yeah.
Yep.
1101. And his phone number.
What is this? What is that? What is that? City? Cedar Ridge.
Cedar Edge. It's Cedar Edge, one word. EDGE. And this phone number is 917-903-5309. Zip code 81413.
Okay, there's his address.
Spirit was the name of his dog. It was a beautiful dog. I've got a picture of it somewhere. He sent me.
I might have spelled Cedar Ridge wrong.
No, it's not Cedar Ridge. It's Cedar Edge.
Cedar Edge. That's what I've got, but I might have spelled it wrong.
Yeah, it's not Surder. It's you get rid of that R there.
Well, how am I going to do that? It's already posted.
I know it.
CEDAREDGE. Okay.
Yeah. There it is.
There you go.
It would be so uplifting for him. Yahuwah keeps all our tears in a bottle.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Sorry that we're so late today. We've went over our mark of 25 viewers, so time to get started. I wish let me see, we have 6, 7, 8, 2 more slots. I wish a couple more people would come on and fill this up. At any rate, we better get started on this. We're on Luke 9 today, and continuing in the book of Luke, if you will. I need a reader who would like to read Luke chapter 9. Our normal reader's not on today, Tad Boyd. I don't know where Tad is. So somebody has to step up.
And having called his 12 pupils together, he gave them power and authority over demons and to heal diseases. And he sent them to proclaim the reign of Yahuwah and to heal the sick. And he said to them, take no baggage at all for your journey, neither staffs nor bag, nor bread nor money, neither have 2 undergarments. And whatever house you enter, stay there and go out from there. And as for those who do not receive you, when you go out of the city, shake off the dust off your feet as a witness against them. And going out, they went through the villages, bringing the Besorah and healing everywhere.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
Okay, so what does this mean? Proclaim the reign of Yahuwah and to heal the sick. What does that mean? Proclaim the reign of Yahuwah. What is that? And he repeated it here. So, and going out, they went through the villages, bringing the Besorah and healing everywhere. So what do y'all think that is?
He sent them to proclaim the Father. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? I don't.
Proclaim the reign of Yahuwah.
That is to come, right? That's what that's referencing. The reign of Yahuwah that is to come after the day of Yahuwah.
Yeah, down here in verse 6, it kind of gives us a little bit better explanation of it. Bringing the Besorah and healing everywhere.
Yeah, so that's the Besorah of Yahusha.
Yeah, proclaim the reign of Yahuwah and bring in the Besorah.
So the return of Yahusha, I guess.
What is the reign of Yahuwah? Somebody?
Is it the millennium reign?
It could be the millennium reign. Millennium reign is usually looked at as the reign of Yahusha, right? Isn't where Yahusha rules for 1,000 years? Go ahead, Phyllis.
At this point, did they know that Yahusha was Yahuwah?
I don't think they did.
Well, then that can't be what.
I don't think they quite understood that yet.
Is that why it says Yahuwah and not Yahusha? The reign of Yahuwah and not Yahusha, because they don't know yet?
Well, Yahusha is the one that told them this. He sent them to proclaim the reign of Yahuwah. Is the reign of Yahuwah available now, or do we have to die to enter into the reign of Yahuwah?
I think we have to be born again, correct? So
Yeah, he can reign within us, right? Well, that's the Ruach HaKodesh, but you know what I mean. He's in our lives.
So the reign of Yahuwah then may have something to do with our rebirth, being born again. Is that what they're out supposed to proclaim?
sounds like it.
Kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? So the reign of Yahuwah must be spiritual. Must be a spiritual reign.
Because it's from within. That's from a verse, correct? That's what verse is that? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't remember the verse, but
Yeah. So if we are immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh, then we're in the spiritual realm, are we in the reign of Yahuwah at that point? Have we become a spiritual child? Yeah, me and Raul keep dropping in and out. I don't know why. So the reign of Yahuwah, proclaim the reign of Yahuwah has something to do with being born again and being born as a spiritual child, not a fleshly child. That's the reign of man, right? Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So can we enter into the reign of Yahuwah right now?
yes.
Yes, we can. Because it's a spiritual birth. He becomes our Father, and we're dwelling. We're in Yahusha. We're with Yahusha in Yahuwah. Which will mean the reign of Yahuwah is near. It is available to us now. Yes, we can. Right? So it's a spiritual realm. Hi, Dave. How are you doing?
Awesome. How are you? Hey, everybody. Hey, Phyllis.
Hey, Dave. You need to tell everybody what's up, but not now because Mark's teaching.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sort of sneaking in. I'm still trying to get today off. So keep going. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Dave. Introduce yourself and let us know. Give us a testimony if you want. Let us know what's happening. Go ahead.
It's been amazing, and Phyllis and Lou have been incredible. I've been researching ever since I've been going to church for really the past 4 years, and I knew something was different, and I came across the Natsarim, and I just been reading and I've been looking into it, but I finally went and got immersed 3 days ago, and I can't even tell you how much of a difference it's I love you. It's awesome. Phyllis is so awesome. No, but it's crazy. Like even the difference, even like the thing, like even like a sin I was holding on to, it's like it's gone, and it's almost like I can feel the Holy Spirit. Royal HaKodesh in myself, and Yahuwah has been incredible. But I've been reading, I have the hardcover version, but I'm getting the soft cover because I want to flip it around, but I don't know. I wasn't expecting to be speaking to y'all. What I've been doing is sort of watching you on the television, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna call in and check. But he's really made a difference in my life, and I've always questioned like things like the Greek interpretation, why that was there, and reading through a lot of loose stuff, and listening to your last night I took part of the chat. It was just it's amazing the things that you're going over, and I really appreciate it. So I'm blabbering, I know. I'm just excited to be a part of y'all. So eventually I'm really trying to get my Saturdays off, but I figure what I'll do for now is I'll follow the Sabbath night on Friday nights, and then when I'm on my lunch break, I'm gonna be a part of you during the day today. So I know that's a commandment. I know that that's important, but yeah. So hope all is awesome. Appreciate you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Oh, we're in Psalm, or which book are we in again? I'm sorry.
We're in Luke 9.
Luke 9. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, just turning over.
Yeah, thank you for your testimony and introduction, and we hope to see a lot more of you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Sorry.
Mark, is it possible that they just needed to let everybody know, because they don't have the internet, so they just had to go and tell everybody that Yahushua was here and teaching the commandments? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we are in some kind of internet problems ourselves here. Everybody keeps coming in and out and breaking up, and so I don't know if there's storms going on, what's happening right now, but I'll try to keep an eye on them coming in and out best I can. Obviously, bring the Basora. Bringing the Basora would be, about Yahushua, proclaiming the reign of Yahuwah. Would be like, kind of like what Lou says here. Yahushua said he would never leave us, and now lives in us, and we're his dwelling place. And so we would be considered the reign of Yahuwah. When we're in a spiritual reign with him, is because we're spiritual children now, right? We've killed the flesh with Mashiach, right? And so now we're in the reign of Yahuwah, and the only way to get there would be go through the being reborn again with water and spirit, as we read about in Yehukanan 3:5. So I think they're probably proclaiming the reign of Yahuwah is near, and people will say, how do I enter into that reign? And then, of course, they would go and explain repentance, water immersion, and immersion in the Ruach HaKodesh to them. You know what I'm saying? And to heal the sick could be a physical healing. It could be one of the spiritual gifts that somebody has a disease or demon possessed or they're crippled or blind, and they heal them of that particular disease or ailment or affliction. And then, or it could be, and to heal the sick would be to deliver them by proclaiming to them and to get them to understand what the reign of Yahuwah is and how they enter into it could deliver them. See what I'm saying? But as we read through here, that'll clarify itself. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Roy. You guys having storms or something there? Maybe jiggle your wire or something. You know what I'm saying? So make sure your wires are plugged in real good. Like push on your wire connections or something. It could be a loose wire or something too, Raul. Something simple. Okay. So we all understanding that now, what the reign of Yahuwah is, what he's sending them out to proclaim.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So where he says here in 5, and as for those who do not receive you, when you go out of that city, shake off the dust from your feet as a witness against them. What does that mean?
Your job is done, and continue on. They've heard it. Now the rest is up to me.
I would
Keep on
think that it
keeping on.
means they have no part in the kingdom if they don't receive his people sent to them.
You don't even want the dust of that village on their sandals. They don't even want no part of that village at all. They even shake the dust of that village off of their sandals and leave it behind. Say, well, we don't want nothing to do with this village, right? Okay. Any questions or comments or thoughts on this?
Forgive me. What was the verse again? I apologize. The book.
We were just talking about verse 5.
In what chapter? I'm looking at
Luke 9.
Luke 9. Thank you.
Notice in 6 that it kind of reinforces what he told them to do in verse 2. And going out, they went through the villages, bringing the Basora and the healing everywhere. So they're out putting his command in action. They're doing what he told them to do. Now, these are the 12 pupils. They've been given power and authority over demons and to heal diseases. Okay, so the heal here and to heal the sick and healing everywhere would be physical ailments or inflictions, even demon possession. So it wouldn't be delivering them through by proclaiming the reign of Yahuwah to them, being fully delivered that way. Okay, because in actuality, even though the reign of Yahuwah was available for them at this point, Yahusha still had not died yet. He has not entered in, began the new covenant yet, right? Even Yahusha himself was still under the old covenant. Remember, when he was a baby, Mary took him on the 8th day and had him circumcised according to the old covenant. And then after 33 days, he was taken to the temple and dedicated to Yahuwah, and they had to buy him back because he was the firstborn from Yahuwah. And they had to do them animal sacrifices in the temple as part of his dedication. This is all proof that he came under the old covenant. And he still was at this point. He had not died yet. What turned the tables? What was the linchpin? What event started the new covenant or the renewed covenant? The other way you want to say it. Go ahead, Phyllis.
His death.
His shedding of his blood, right? Remember, he said that this is my blood. Drink my blood. It's for the new covenant. Remember when he passed around the cup of wine? Yeah. So shedding of his blood, his death, was the beginning of that. And so until that point, still under the old covenant. Everybody seeing that? Any comments or thoughts or questions about it? So how is it then that they can enter into the reign of Yahuwah before the renewed covenant started? You knew I was going to ask that, didn't you, Phyllis? Go ahead, Phyllis.
You did teach us that people could have the Ruach HaKodesh even before they were immersed and even before his death. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yahuwah is not restricted by tenses. And when Yahuwah says something, he always says it as though it already has happened. And so to Yahuwah, who is not restricted by the tenses, the reign of Yahuwah is available from the beginning of, before the foundations of the earth. The only body that's restricted by time or the tenses, past, present, future, is us, not Yahuwah. Time don't even exist in the spiritual realm. How do you keep track of time when it's the spiritual realm or the reign of Yahuwah is from everlasting to everlasting? You don't. There's no beginning and end of time. It's just our restriction. It's just during this carbon copied world existence here that we experience those restrictions. But Yahuwah never does. Everybody understanding that? Any comments, thoughts, or questions about it? Okay. If there's nothing else, then Phil, let's go on.
Verse 7. And Herod, the district ruler, heard of all that was done by him, and was perplexed, because it was said by some that Euchanan had been raised from the dead, and by some that Eliyahu had appeared, and others that of the old prophets had risen up. And Herod said, Euchanan I have beheaded, but who is this whom I have heard such reports? And he was seeking to see him.
Okay, hang on a minute. Hold up.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so why are these people going around spreading all these rumors and gossip and telling people that he's Elijah, that he's Yehukanan, the immerser, or he's, and others are saying he's an old prophet that's been risen up from the dead, from the grave? Why are they running around telling all this stuff to people?
As a misdirection, maybe?
I mean, obviously, because of the works that he's doing, right? But why?
Yeah.
Are they going around spreading all these rumors about who he is?
Because people like to spread rumors.
People, it's just the way people are, huh?
As they don't know they don't know he's Yahuwah. Or I mean, they don't know. So they're not sure who he is.
Right. Anybody else got any thoughts on it? So obviously, go ahead, Kate.
Well, they may have been told or may have some idea, but they just refuse to believe anyway, like is also a big human nature. They just don't believe it.
Why?
It's not been granted to them to see and understand.
Anybody else? Notice who they're saying he is. They're all saying he's a man. He's some type of man, right? None of them are saying he's Yahuwah incarnated. They're all saying he's a man. And so in their fleshly minds, he's got to be a man because that's their reality. They're not willing to look outside of the box. They want to contain him in their little box, and he has to be some type of man, some type of prophet, some type of person that's died and came back to life. Must be Elijah. Gotta be. Oh, he got to be John the Immerser coming back from the dead. Oh no, he's a greater prophet. He's a great prophet from the past. So they're trying to make him to be a man. He has to be a fleshly man to them. And they're refusing to see him in any other way. Why? Why are they doing that?
Because no one's been indwelled with the Ruach yet. So people are in their fleshly minds.
There you go. Because they're in their fleshly mind. They're in the mind of the flesh. The mind of flesh is opposite or against the mind of the Ruach. They're opposed to each other. They're enemies. So whatever the mind of the spirit does, the mind of the flesh is always opposed, always against it. They never agree, ever.
Well,
go ahead, Dave.
It's also like in a way to discredit them too, right? Because if you take Yahuwah, but you confine him to a human, like calling him John or calling him like Elijah. He's still not the all-powerful. That's what I was seeing out of it, because the whole thing is Herod never wanted to lose his power, and neither did a lot of the people that was trying to contain him. But that's what I saw.
Well, that's a really good point, Dave. That's a very good point.
This is awesome. Sorry.
Anybody else? Any comments or thoughts on this or questions? You don't always have to direct your question to me. You can question anybody on the panel here. No? Okay, let's go ahead and continue, Phil.
Verse 10, and the emissaries, when they had returned, related to him all that they had done. And he took them, and they withdrew themselves to a city called Bethsaida, house of fishing. And when the multitude knew it, they followed him. And having received them, he was speaking to them about the reign of Yahuwah, and healed those who had the need of healing.
Okay, stop.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, where is Beth Zadia? Zayda. Where's that at? It says house of fishing. What's the location?
I would guess it's on the water somewhere.
I would say that's a good guess.
Well, it's not Bethel.
So it's where the Jordan River enters the Sea of Galilee. Okay, so it's right on the mouth of the river there. Okay, as it goes into the sea, so it would still be up in the northern Galilee region, right? Maybe even over by Golan Heights. On the other side of the river would be Golan Heights. So it's up north. And so this is where they were all from. That's why we find them up there quite a bit, don't we? Around the Sea of Galilee. And so it says, and when the multitudes knew it, they followed him. So the emissaries, after they came back from bringing the Basora and healing everywhere, they came back, told him what happened, and they took off, went up here to this fishing village. And the multitude knew they were where they were, and they followed him. Speaking of Yahusha, and having received them, he was speaking to them about the reign of Yahuwah and healed those who had need of healing. So here we find Yahusha himself doing the exact thing that he told the 12 to go do. So do you see this message clearly? Well, are we supposed to do these things as well? Go ahead, Phyllis.
Back to the question you asked, what was the reign of Yahuwah?
Yeah.
Well, after I read this, apparently they're teaching them to go back to the old ways, that keeping the commandments and thinking about the things of the kingdom instead of worrying about, and to just, keeping the commandments. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's take that all the way back. Before Adam and Kuah even sinned. Was that not the reign of Yahuwah? When there was perfection, absolution? Yeah. Reign of Yahuwah what does the reign of Yahuwah have to do with flesh or have to do with sin? Nothing. Let's take it way back, Phyllis, all the way to the beginning, before they fell. That was the reign of Yahuwah. So now all of a sudden we can enter back into that reign, okay, spiritually, okay, away from this fleshly world, this carbon world and flesh and sin, and enter back into that reign of Yahuwah and be sealed for the day of redemption, waiting on our new bodies so that we can actually survive and live in the reign of Yahuwah forever. So the reign of Yahuwah would be eternal reign back before they fell. See that? So yeah, correct. And Adam and Kuah did know the 10 Commandments. They knew. Scripture says so. So here we find that he sends them out to proclaim the reign of Yahuwah, to explain what it is, and that it's achievable even in this fallen world. But we must be set apart from this fallen world in order to be in the reign of Yahuwah. Okay, they heal the sick, and then we go down and find out that they went out through the villages, bringing the Basora and the healing everywhere. So they went out and did what he said. Now, all of a sudden, in 11, we're finding out that Yahusha himself was speaking to these crowds, this multitude, about the reign of Yahuwah, and healed all those who needed healing. So now he's doing what he told them to do. So is there a constant message here? Are we supposed to be doing this? Is this a constant message for us as well? I don't see where the message has changed. We are supposed to be proclaiming and talking about the reign of Yahuwah and healing those who need healing. And we can only do that through childlike belief. We need to be who we are. We are Yahuwah's children. We're spiritual children. We are in the reign of Yahuwah, and we need to proclaim it and teach it, and not only that, heal those who need healing. Our doubt stems from our fleshly existence. Our perfect belief was destroyed when we were children by those who loved us the most. And we have to forget that. We can't bring that into the reign. You got to leave that where that belongs, in the fleshly world, in the carbon copied world. We've been born again. We've been given perfect belief all over again. We have to believe. We have to believe like a child, and then things happen. But us adults, we have a hard time leaving that old man in the grave. We want to bring him back out and recall the memories of our fleshly life, the reign of man. We've got to be set apart. The time is essence, because we're in the end of the latter days, folks. This is real now. This is our job. This is what we've been chosen to do, to proclaim the reign of Yahuwah and to heal the sick. It's the same message. That message, he never changed this message. It's what he assigned the emissaries to do, and it's what he did himself, and it's what we're supposed to do. Any questions, comments, or thoughts on this? Go ahead, Dave.
It's fascinating. Like I said, I actually read through the entire, we'll call it Bible, the past couple of years. And one thing I don't want to do is bring attention to myself, but I walk around and I'll wear a t-shirt, with a saying on it, or I'll wear something, or I go to a Christian coffee shop and I'll sit down and just read, especially, Natsarim stuff this past probably 5 months or a couple months. And the craziest thing is because I'm allowing myself to be available, and it is scary, right? But it's almost like I had a conversation with an engineer and a doctor about my beliefs with this. And it was almost like Yahuwah was putting the words in my mouth of what to say. And I'm being completely honest. It's the moment I said 100%, you know what I mean? I know I kept putting that in the chat last night. It's like 100%, I'm looking, okay, what am I giving up? Okay, I'm a single guy and all this other stuff, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to make excuses. And the moment I started giving it 100%, it's crazy. And I'm living example of this, that he's giving me the words to say to people, and it makes sense. I'm talking to a doctor and an engineer, and I can, the engineer was an atheist, and the second time I saw him now, he's actually he's apologizing to me about his, because he's like throwing stuff at me, and it's crazy. It's like, Yahuwah's giving me the bat to just sort of bunt it back to him. And it's just been amazing. And I think that's what a lot of this is like with the 12 disciples. It's like, hey, I got you ready, but you can always prepare, like what you were saying, but going out there and doing it, it's scary, right? It's like getting on that roller coaster, but then you realize, oh, it's cool when you go over the hill. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you what, I know I'm new to you all, but it's like, it's fascinating. All I do is I take walks and I play, loose stuff in my ears, and I like just to sort of give me the background, because I realize a lot of Christians, they get, they're like, oh, go out and save people, but they really don't know what to say. You know what I mean? And I think especially with this, the one thing we have on our side is logic, because this all logically makes sense. You know what I mean? And I just think it's a powerful thing that we can deliver being prepared. But thanks. Sorry. I'm so nervous. It's funny. It's awesome. But anyway, that's my thing. But it's been amazing. Giving him 100%. And it just, I don't know. I'm loving it. Loving it. So thanks.
Anybody else? Any thoughts or comments, questions?
Well, the other morning, I wasn't going to stop at my normal place where I get tea, but I decided to pull in there. And I went in and I passed this guy. I went and got the tea, and I came back out, and he goes, hey, you got any spare change? And I go, well, let me look. And so I pulled out my wallet in front of him. I gave him some. And I said to him, this is not from me. This is from Yahuwah. Do you know who Yahuwah is? And then I told him, and he said, and Yahusha. When I said Yahusha, his eyes just lit up. That was remarkable. And we talked a little bit, and I said, all right, well, have a good day. Hopefully I'll see you again. And that was it. But I could really tell his whole body changed when I said Yahusha. And I told him, and that was the one who saves. So you call on his name. He was down and out as well. But I said, call on his name, pray to Yahuwah in Yahusha's name, and he will heal you, and he will give you direction. And I left. So it's just like what you were saying, Dave. You just put it out there, and with a humble thing. And I told him, this gift I'm giving you is not from me; it's from him. And I said, and I wasn't even going to stop here today, but I did, and you're the reason why. And then I left. So it's really cool. You just know what to do and what to say at the spur of the moment, because you're prepared, as these individuals are prepared. And it's interesting because he doesn't always move me to do that. And I think it's what you've said before, Mark. You're looking for the lost sheep. So you see a bunch of sheep, but you perhaps only speak to one. Does that make any sense to all of you?
Yes, it does. Jilly saying, I think the reign of Yahuwah can be a healing all on itself too. And that's correct. It is. Okay. If you enter to the reign of Yahuwah, you've found deliverance. So you're being delivered at this point. So that's a full healing total. The healing of the sick here can't apply to that, as we said earlier, but if you go back up to verse 1, it says he gave them power and authority over all demons and to heal diseases. And so this would be happening in the fleshly world, this carbon copy world. See what I'm saying? And so, but the reign of Yahuwah brings full deliverance, healing, perfect healing, not only of demon possession or diseases, but also healing you of the disease that's in all people, and that's sin. That sin is a disease, and it affects us all, and we're going to die if we don't get healed of that disease. Call it sin. And so you enter into the reign of Yahuwah, you remove the old man, he dies with the Mashiach, and you leave him in the grave. Now you're born again, you're a spiritual person, and you've been relieved of that disease called sin. You see that? So yes, the reign of Yahuwah brings full deliverance or healing to you through the new birth. Go ahead, Phil.
But the healing it's mostly spiritual. I don't know if it's always physical, however. What do you think about that?
Not all. No, it can be spiritual. Absolutely. It can be delivering you or healing you from sin, from the disease called sin.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I think sometimes he allows the physical to be removed as long as the spiritual has been healed. So I think some people sometimes get perhaps lack of faith because they don't see a physical healing, but the most important healing is the spiritual healing.
Yes, that's the most important. But as you can see, we've been commissioned or assigned or commanded, if you will, to proclaim the reign of Yahuwah and to heal the sick. We do it to ourselves. We destroy our perfect belief on ourselves because we refuse to leave the old past of our old fleshly existence, life, in the grave. And we bring it with us, okay? And we battle with it every single day. Every day. And do you think that the old man, the mind of the flesh that you're battling it with every day, wants you to believe and have childlike belief enough to heal somebody? No. He wants to keep you in unbelief. Because if that happens, your belief, the strength of your spirit man is going to quadruple and leave him behind in smoke. So he wants to make you think, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. See what I'm saying? Go ahead, Phil.
So do you think sometimes it could be blocked because you try to heal in the mind of the flesh, as far as looking at the fleshly healing first and not the spiritual healing first? And I might be reading too much into this, but obviously the most important, I mean, to me, if I was sick and about ready to die, my physical, if I didn't have anything spiritual, my physical would be my first priority, just because I don't know the difference, or I don't know what to pray for. But if, you know what I'm saying by that? I sometimes wonder if people lack that belief because they try to pray for someone that's sick, and then when that person passes, they've misprioritized their prayer.
Yes.
They should have started with the spiritual first.
Yes.
The spiritual sickness brings the physical sickness. Perhaps, not always. I'm just it could be from the past or something. I don't know. Is there legal jurisdiction on your physical flesh from past sinning before you received the Ruach HaKodesh? I know your physical body is condemned already, but I don't know if there's some residual part of that still has to pay that penalty. I'm not sure about that.
Hey, the fleshly man still has to. Death has full authority over sin. But our thoughts can hinder our belief, just our own thoughts. And like if you maybe watched last night, if you have something against your brother or against another person, and then you're trying to heal someone, Yahuwah may not allow it because of your thoughts against another person, which you're commanded to love, even your enemies. So you're Go ahead, Phil.
And the accuser, sorry, I didn't mean to. The accuser can block that, correct? Legal jurisdiction over your representation of Yahuwah.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
And so this is a big battle, and this is something we have to come to grips with. Every single one of us on there, including myself. Because, time is of essence now. Okay? Time's running out. We need to start doing what we're supposed to do. And we need to recognize who we are. Go ahead, Phyllis.
to back up what Phil was saying, I remember when the woman was wanting Yahushua to heal her daughter, I think, and he said that it's not for the dogs. The reign of Yahuwah is not for the dogs. And she said, yeah, but even the dogs eat from the children's table. So Phil, you're right on. Yahushua knows that they have to have the spiritual to be able to heal the physical.
Yeah, that's an amazing passage. I love that passage. And what he actually said was, oh, daughter, oh, Asha, your belief, you have great belief. And then he turns right around and says, whatever you desire, let it be to you. Based on her belief, she can get it. He's telling her you can have anything you want. You have great enough belief to have whatever you want. Okay? It's your desire, whatever you desire, Asha, because your belief is great. I mean, that's a mind-blowing passage, man. Go ahead, Joshua.
I was just going to say that, I don't like to talk about my condition too much, because I don't want to overdo it. But, I've been on dialysis for 7 years now. The average lifespan on dialysis is about 5 years. And, this is something I've had since birth. And the first couple of years, the first 3 years on dialysis, I was really going downhill. All my muscles were gone. I was a very sickly looking individual, and I looked like a walking corpse, and I think at one point my time was up, and luckily, and when Yahuwah entered in my life, that's when everything changed. And I wouldn't say that I'm healed by any means, but in many ways I am healed, and he did heal me. And, now I'm as healthy as I was when I wasn't on dialysis, which is kind of insane. My lab work is fantastic. But most importantly, I have my spiritual side back to me, and I think that's what keeps me going. The spirit kind of overrides the physical. And when you have that spiritual connection, it allows you to go above and beyond your capabilities, and so I just wanted to say that, I think I'm a little bit of a living testimony to what this is saying and what we've been talking about. And I'm incredibly thankful for it. And I'm just going to try my best to continue on this path and to help others and to bring the Basora to others and go from there.
Really nice testimony there, Joshua. And we need to continue to increase our belief, folks. We need to get back to how we were when we were 3 and 4 years old. We believe anything. That's what we need to be able to do.
And Joshua, my wife was in bed after we got married. It was about a year or two. I don't know. She ended up having, she had it before, but we found out it was Lyme disease. And she was in bed for like 8 years. Sometimes I'd have to carry her to the bathroom. I mean, when I was home, and anyway, but he has done the same thing for her. But it took a while. But Mark, I wonder if her spiritual, because she accepted Yahuwah's name right away, but I wonder if her spiritual cleansing, as it was a process, I'm sure. It was a process, but it wasn't a process. But she gradually got stronger and stronger through her faith in him. And I think that as she got spiritually stronger, her body got stronger. Is that what you're saying, Joshua? What do you think?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like there's a spiritual aspect to it all that I didn't have before. When I was really, of course, I was birthed without kidneys, so I had a bunch of problems growing up and issues from day one. But so I suffered spiritually because I was never in the mind of. I was in the mind of the flesh, right? Because I'm in pain. I'm sort of miserable. So it took me out of my spiritual body, or my spiritual ways. And I just concentrated on my flesh my whole life, and that's just kind of, I dealt with the misery through fleshly desires, whether it be drinking or drugging or women or whatever the case may have been. I was always trying to get that fleshly dopamine hit, rather than the spiritual hit, dopamine hit, which is much more powerful and visceral than any kind of physical fleshly feeling that we can have. And I noticed that since I brought Yahuwah in my life, and it took a lot of time. It didn't happen overnight, but the more that I've worked on it, the more I've given myself to it, the more entrenched I become in it, the more it seems like the more healthier I get. I don't know how to explain it other than that, but I prove it with my lab work. My lab works used to be terrible, and I was always fighting to meet these numbers, phosphorus and iron levels and all kinds of different various things that come along with kidney disease and not having kidneys. And lately my numbers have just been perfect. Like they don't even, the doctor tells me every time I go in, he says, you're an anomaly, right? I said, what do you mean? He says, you're on year 7 and your numbers are getting better instead of worse. So, I mean, take it for what it is. That's exactly what it is, so.
And right there is your door opening, I think. Mark, back me up here. Talk to that doctor. Tell him the real reason why your numbers are what they are.
Oh, yeah.
It's not him. Now, you don't want to say it that way, but it's because of the Father.
Well, I've done that with my nurses and my doctors. I'm always give all credit to Yahuwah. So they know that. So.
Yeah, really good, man. So your body is transformed into the temple of Yahuwah. It's no longer your fleshly body. It's no longer your concern. You've given it totally over to Yahuwah, and he's taken up residence in his temple.
Yeah, and another thing that's really helped me is, like you've said, it's transformed my body, but it's putting everything on him, like clinching to Yahuwah's garments is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm putting it all on his plate. And when I do that, it's just, I'm very much more relaxed. Whereas before I was always worrying and anxious and fear and anxiety and all the negative emotions that you can feel, but that stuff's all gone now. So I can be comfortable and sick and healthy at the same time, if that makes sense. But it's just, it's incredible.
Yeah, and I think when we have these concerns, we go to the mind of the flesh. He's going to chastise us for that, because I do it too. You have a concern or something. You're going along, and you have this concern, and I can just hear him. He says, "Silly, silly boy, don't forsake my power. I've protected you your whole life. Why wouldn't I now?" That, or something like that. It's like a father does. So, yeah, I hate when I do that because I'm denying his power. I just shake my head like, oh, I'm so weak, but that's because I'm weak in the flesh.
Correct.
Right, Mark? I mean,
and,
I think
one more thing before I'm done here, and I'll stop talking. But I used to look at this and I used to say, I'm cursed. Why did this happen to me? Why did I have to go through this? Why, God hates me, or God hates me, and this and that and the other, these fleshly minded ways. But now I don't look at it like that. I look at this as a blessing. I know that sounds crazy, but in some way, because I've gone through all of this, it's brought me closer to him in a way that I don't think I would have been without this stuff, so without these events happening in my life or growing up through what I grew up with. So that's an amazing thing too, is that it's, in the end, it's brought me to him, unified me with him rather than taking me apart, which is an important aspect.
All righty. Thanks for that, Joshua and Phil. Do you all, anybody got any more questions or comments on this up to this point? If not, Phil, let's continue on now.
Chapter 9, verse 12. And as the yam began to decline, the 12 came and said to him, "Send the crowds away, that going into the surrounding villages and country, they might lodge and get food, because here we are in a desolate place." But he said to them, "You give them to eat." And they said, "We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fishes, unless we go and buy food for all these people." For there were about 5,000 men. And he said to his pupils, "Make them sit down in groups of 50. And they did so. And he made them all sit down. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, having looked up to the heaven, he blessed and broke them, and gave them to the pupils to set before the crowds. So they all ate and were satisfied, and 12 baskets of broken pieces were picked up by them. And it came to be, as he was alone praying, the pupils were with him, and he asked them, saying, Who do the masses say that I am?" And they answered, said, "Euchanan, the immerser. But others, Eliyahu. And others say that one of the old prophets that has risen up." And he said to them, "And you, who do you say I am?" And Kepha, answering, said, "The Mashiach of Elohim." And strictly warning them, he commanded them to say this to no one, saying, "The son of Adam has to suffer much, and to be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and to be killed, and to be raised the third yom."
Okay, hold on.
And he said, okay.
All right. So this satisfying of the eating of bread and fish, these 5,000 men, is a type. And they were eating, they were being fed the manna from heaven, and in the flesh, they were satisfied, and these people were seeking him out to fill their bellies again. And so through this type, or this shadow, we see that out of all those who were listening to him, the 5,000, the crowd of 5,000, that actually partaked in the manna from heaven, out of them only 12 were delivered. Only 12 accepted the word and were delivered and converted. Okay. So as we go down through here, it questions them back over here where we read in 7 and 8. The people were running around. They were and saying that he was Yehukanan or Elijah or one of the prophets. Yahushua knew they were doing that. So after he does the feeding of these 5,000, he says, "Who are they saying I am?" And they said, "Well, they're saying you're Yehukanan the immerser, Elijah, or one of the prophets that came back to life." And then he asked them a sobering question. He says, "And you, who do you say I am?" And Kepha answering said, "The Mashiach of Elohim." What's that mean? What does that mean? You're the Mashiach of Elohim. Some translation says you are the son of Elohim, right? But here, this is very interesting that it says, it's translated properly, really here. And it says, Kepha answered and said, "You're the Mashiach of Elohim." What's he saying? What's that mean?
The anointed one of Elohim?
Anointed one for what? Anointed for what?
The redemption of humanity.
Mm-hmm. But how?
Deliverance through a sacrifice.
Say again?
Deliverance through a sacrifice.
right? Say it just a little bit clearer, a little more simpler.
The one to be sacrificed for our deliverance.
Right. And so then what he's saying is the Meshika of Elohim, you are the Lamb of Yahuwah. Right? You're the sacrificial lamb of Yahuwah. That one is not what Peter's saying here, right? And so everybody knows what happens to a lamb that's going to be sacrificed. And so then he says, he's strictly warning them. He commanded them to say this to no one, saying the son of Adam has to suffer much and to be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and to be killed and to be raised by the third day. Okay, so why is he commanding them, strictly warning them, even commanding them not to tell people, these people that are falsely labeling him as a prophet or Elijah or Yahuwah the Immerse, or this group of people out there running around spreading all this gossip, not to tell them that he's the Mashiach of Elohim, which is the Lamb of Yahuwah? Why? Be nice to get some other people in here. We have 4 openings, 4 slots available. And we make these slots available for you in order to participate. It'd be nice to get that participation.
And could you also repeat the question, please?
Yeah. So here Peter has correctly identified Yahusha as the Mashiach of Elohim, right? Or the Lamb of Yahuwah in a simpler term. And then he strictly warns them. He even commands them to tell nobody. Why?
Because he has yet to suffer and go through trials and tribulations in front of the leaders, the religious leaders. And he doesn't want them knowing that he's done all this stuff yet.
There it is. He doesn't want them to know that he's going to be the sacrificial lamb, because remember, scripture says if they knew, they wouldn't have sacrificed him. That's how much they hate him. And so he strictly forbid them to tell anybody that, because he voluntarily wanted to be sacrificed. And if they would have known, go ahead.
So then this goes back to your reign of Yahuwah questioner from the beginning, right?
It sort of does.
Because you're saying that he doesn't want to say it's the reign of Yahusha because it's too early yet. He doesn't want people to know that.
Anybody else? Everybody go to 1 Corinthians 2:8. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 8. So it says, I'm going to back up to 6. Yet we speak wisdom among those who are perfect, and not the wisdom of this age, nor of the rulers of this age that are being brought to nothing. Ooh. But we speak the wisdom of Yahuwah, which was hidden in a secret. Let me let that roll in in a secret, in which Yahuwah established before the ages for our esteem, which no one of the rulers of this age knew. For if they had known, they would not have staked the master of esteem. Everybody seeing that? So that's why he strictly forbid them to tell people that he was the sacrificial lamb of Yahuwah, because they wouldn't have sacrificed him the way he needed to be sacrificed in order to fulfill the laws, the universal law of Yahuwah.
So he told all 12 of the disciples here. He told them all the secret.
Yes. Well, he asked them, "Who do people say I am?" And then he asked, and they were wrong, okay, which was what they needed to be, wrong, right? Because he didn't want them to know that he was the Lamb of Yahuwah. So then he asked Kepha, and Kepha says, "You're the Mashiach of Yahuwah, or otherwise the Lamb of Yahuwah, for the sacrifice for the sins of the world," right? And he said, strictly forbid, so don't tell anybody that, because if the rulers know that, they're not going to sacrifice me, and I need to be sacrificed. Otherwise, no one would be delivered. There would be no forgiveness without the shedding of the blood of the Lamb of Yahuwah, because that's the only one that has perfect blood. There is no other available blood sacrifice other than the blood of Yahuwah, and that has to come out of humanity. It has to be a human sacrifice, but there's no human blood that could do that. And so Yahuwah looked around and said, hey, he was blown away. There's no intercessor. There's nobody that can do this. So now I have to do it. So I have to become incarnated. I have to become a man. And my blood is the only sacrifice that will fulfill the law. And so he shed his own blood. That's why he needed to come in a form of a man in fleshly form, in order to have blood to shed. Otherwise, he was a ruach. He had no blood to shed until he became a man. And so he became what? The Lamb of Yahuwah, the sacrificial Lamb of Yahuwah, to take away the sins of the world. For that very reason. And he told Kepha, yeah, you're right, but don't you tell anybody. Don't you dare tell anybody that. Let them keep thinking I'm Elijah. Let them keep thinking I'm Yehukanan the Immerser. Let them keep thinking I'm a great prophet from the past. That's what I want them to think, because I need to be sacrificed. I came to die and to be sacrificed for your sins. See it? Any comments or thoughts or questions on that? It's amazing stuff, isn't it? All right, then, Phil, let's continue on. Wait a minute. Where did we leave off at?
23. Well, I'm going to start 23. Okay.
Oh, hey, hang on a minute. I got to get 22 here. So he tells them to say it to no one, because he has to suffer much and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes. In other words, they have to kill him and to be killed and to be raised the third Yom. Okay, so this being raised on the third Yom, okay, it needs to be clarified, because there's a lot of uninformed teachers out there, or Christians, if you will. And when I say Christians, I include Catholics, the Catholics, and the Protestants all in one group. Okay. And they're about 1/3 of the people is in that circus. Okay. When you put those two groups together, it's a huge crowd. Well, they teach that Yahusha died on Good Friday, they say. Okay. And then he rose up on Easter Sunday. And so somebody explained to us how that equals 3 days, first of all. And Yahusha said that he would be in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights. Welcome back, Dave.
Oh, so I took off 2 hours. So that's fine. And what does that mean? He's the anointed one. Sorry, go on.
The anointed one, it means he is.
Oh,
they only anointed a priest and a king.
Oh,
That's all. That's who got anointed. Okay, so he had to be either a priest or a king to be anointed. Okay, in this instance, he was both, and also the Lamb of Yahuwah, the sacrificial lamb.
awesome.
Okay, he was anointed to take away the sins of the world through his perfect, sinless blood. The blood of the Ruach HaKodesh ran through his veins, and so Yahuwah had to be incarnated in order to have blood to sacrifice. And that's why Yahusha is Yahuwah incarnated. Okay. So back to what I was asking. Somebody explain that. Does Good Friday to Easter morning, is that 3 days? And Yahusha said, I will be in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights. Does that mean he was resurrected on the 4th day? It can't be, can it? Because he said, I'm going to be resurrected on the 3rd day. So somebody explain all. Can anybody explain that to us and so it makes sense? Phyllis?
I can only give you their explanation. It means that it just has to touch on a part of a day. It doesn't have to be a whole day, just part of the day. But that's not what Yahusha said. He said 3 days and 3 nights. He didn't say 1.5 days.
All right. So to me, that don't cut the mustard, because 3 days and 3 nights would have to be 72 hours for me. I don't see how it can be anything less than that. And then so we count 2 hours as a full 24-hour period or 12-hour period. I don't buy into that. Hi, Jilly. Glad you're back. Nice to see you again. So, yeah, that's what they say, but that's just to cover up their lie, their misleading of people. It's not it has to be a 72-hour period. So how can we work this so that Scripture is true and there's an actual 72-hour period and that he was rose on the 3rd day? How do we do that? Go ahead, Dave.
Will it be night, day, night, day, night, day, right? So that would be, if he was killed on a Friday, that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it'd be Tuesday, in essence, right? I mean, it's sunrise. If it's that, I don't know. But like you said, 72 hours makes sense.
Yeah, so a child knows better than that, that Good Friday to Easter Sunday is not 3 days and 3 nights. I mean, a 3rd grader, definitely a 5th grader can figure that one out. Go ahead, Phyllis.
The confusion comes in because the Sabbath that they had to get him down off the stake for was the first day of unleavened bread, not a weekly Sabbath. So they had to get through that Sabbath, that night and that Sabbath. And then they had a weekday and they had to get through that night, day and night. And then the next day was Sabbath itself. So he had to wait until the morning when Sabbath was over to rise.
Right. So since he died the evening of preparation day before it got dark, then somehow at that point we have to return to that point 3 days later to get that 72 hours. See that? So we don't just count that last half hour or hour of daylight as a full day like Christians try to say. But you're right. They go to preparation day on the weekly Sabbath and say that was Good Friday. And it's incorrect because, like David said, that would take us into Monday before it could be the 3rd day, right at the evening before Tuesday would start. And I'm just using these words so everybody keeping track of what I'm saying. Okay. So it's taking us to the 2nd day before the 3rd day starts. Okay. So that don't make sense, does it? Why doesn't that make sense? Because the first day of the week after the weekly Shabbat was first fruits. Bikram. That's when he rose, right? So it can't go beyond the first day. See what I'm saying? So can anybody explain the 72-hour period to us to where it makes sense? Okay, let me switch gears here. I'm going to put this up on this board behind me, if I can do this right. And then we can all fill this in best we can here. This all right. Oh, kids got writing letters on here to me. Hang on a minute. All right. Okay, first of all, let's look at what they say. And so it would be what they're saying on Good Friday. We'll say that this is the orange will be daylight. Okay. And so this would be the 6th day or Friday. Okay. And he died right here toward the end of this day on Good Friday. So then it got dark. Okay. And this was the night. So this would be on the Shabbat. It was dark. Okay. And so then after it became daylight on Shabbat, that was the next day period of daylight. And then it got dark and the first day came. And it was dark.
24.
Okay. And then after it became light, which would be the first day, or what they call Easter morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Easter morning, it became daylight on the first day, and he was resurrected right there. So this would be, they say, is one day, this little hour period here. Okay, so this night and day here would be Shabbat. That's 2. And then it got dark. That started the 3rd day, and he was raised here right at daylight. And they count this as 3. And that's how they're getting that. Well, there's no way that can be 3. So what it would have to be in reality, this would have to be 1. This would have to be 2. And this is only a half. So we got 2.5 days here in reality. Everybody seeing that? So what really happened? Well, in that year, the year Yahusha came, okay, unleavened bread, the first day of unleavened bread came on a Thursday, okay, or the 5th day. And so Wednesday would have been prep day. Okay, this would have been the Wednesday. And he died right here, approximately an hour before it got dark. Okay, it became Thursday. And so when it got dark, it was night. It became dark. And then the daylight came. Okay, and now this right here isn't counted, but that is the point it started. The 72-hour period started when he died, and they put him in his tomb, in the tomb, when this day began. But this little bit of daylight here was the beginning. Okay, so because he died. Okay, so now this is day 1. This and this is day 1. which would have been the first day of unleavened bread, a high Shabbat. So then it became dark again.
Sunday.
Okay. And then it became daylight again. So this would have been, Thursday. Okay, and then it became daylight. It was dark, daylight, and then it got dark again. And then it became daylight again right here, right? And so then this would be the F word, okay, which would have been the second day, second Yom. Okay, and we're on the F day. So now it gets dark, and this is when the girls went down there to check out the tomb, right? Or whatever. I mean, which is when it was preparation day before the weekly Sabbath. And it got dark again. And then this is the seventh day now, and it gets daylight here. And so here, this day then is 3, right? So this would be, am I doing this right? So this is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then comes dark. All right, let me take this back out. And this would be the sun's day, according to them, right? So this would be Saturday, okay, with the Sabbath, we'll say. And so it begins here. We go through day 1, which was the first day of unleavened bread. We go through day 2, which is preparation day for the Shabbat, weekly Shabbat. And then on the third day is the Shabbat. And guess what? That ends right here. When you got about half hour left of daylight, hour, right here is your 72-hour period because of this. It ended right there before Sunday even started, about an hour before Sunday started. Everybody seeing that? So there's your 72 hours. Why did it end right here before night came on the Shabbat? Because he died right here about an hour before the first day started. And so that makes up your 72-hour period. And so when was he resurrected? When did he resurrect? He resurrected right here. About an hour or so before the first day started. Right there at the cusp. And then so once the first day came, he was alive. He was back walking around at that point. There's your 72-hour period. Go ahead, Dave.
So you're saying it was going back 3 days as opposed to saying that he was resurrected on Tuesday, then, correct?
No, back in that day, in that year that he died, unleavened bread was on Thursday.
Oh, gotcha. You said that. No,
and so he died on Wednesday before unleavened bread came, right before. Remember? Yep. They were in a frenzy. The women were in a frenzy to get his body down. Yep. I mean, they were going nuts, wanting his body down. Because first of all, it was against Torah to leave anybody hanging on a tree beyond the one day.
That's right.
And if you did, it would be a curse on the entire country of Israel. A curse would come on the entire country. He had to come
but plus
down.
Touching a dead body in itself was
bad
against
news.
Torah.
And the next day was the first day of unleavened bread, which was a high Shabbat. So, man, that was like a triple whammy to leave him up there. And so he died before the evening came, and the first day of unleavened bread began at evening. So he died before then. So that when he died, that began the countdown for the 72-hour period at that particular point. And that 72-hour point was reached on the coming Shabbat at right before the day ended, like an hour. We'll just say an hour before, just to make it simple. So he died an hour before unleavened bread came, and then he rose an hour before the first day came that same week. And there's your 72-hour period.
Awesome.
Which is kind of strange as it moves around. There's some years that it does fall on Friday, okay, on the sixth day. But to go back to when it really happened, the year that it happened, you know, they can trace that back. And we know that the year that he actually died, it was on the unleavened bread came on that Thursday.
Nice.
Which would be the fifth day.
So it's because of that specific you're able to pinpoint that just by that specific line in the verse, it being on the day of unleavened bread or the day before the unleavened bread.
Yeah, prep day. Which would have been what? Passover. He was the Passover. He was our Passover lamb. He had to die on Passover. The Passover lamb gets slaughtered on preparation day. Okay? And it gets sacrificed and slaughtered and cooked on preparation day. And when it turns evening and the first day of unleavened bread comes, that's when they eat the Passover meal. He never ate the Passover meal. He was the Passover lamb of Yahuwah. That's why he had to die before it became dark. That's another reason he had to. Everybody with me on this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Any questions or thoughts or any comments? Go ahead, Phyllis.
I don't think this is salvational, but I'm just curious. Would the fact that would he resurrect on a Sabbath instead of keeping Sabbath and resting?
Yeah.
I mean, you said an hour before Sabbath was over. It would that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I know I used to teach that he didn't resurrect until it became evening on the first day, right? And he was because that's Bikram, right? But when we take a closer look at this, okay, he healed people on the Shabbat. I can show you about 10 examples of that. He even raised people from the dead on the Shabbat. I can show you examples of that. Okay. And so, but here's the thing that this is why I'm kind of leaning off of that. And I used to teach that, I admit it, is the fact that he started before it became dark when he died. So would you say that was an hour difference? Well, the 72-hour difference would be just an hour before the first day started. And so does it not make sense that he would resurrect himself exactly after 3 days and 3 nights? And listen now, if it would have got dark and he wouldn't resurrected on the first day, that would have been the fourth night. And he didn't say that. He said he's going to resurrect himself on the third day. Read it. It's all through Scripture. I'm going to resurrect myself on the third day, which would have been that 72-hour period, an hour before it got dark. If he would not have, because it was Shabbat, that means he wouldn't have been resurrected till it got dark, and that would have been the fourth night, and that'd go against what he said in Scripture. He said, I'm going to be resurrected on the third day. So, I mean, so with all that in mind, I said, hey, maybe I'm teaching that wrong. Maybe he did resurrect himself at the end of that 72-hour period on the third day. I mean, look at it right here. We just read it. Where is it? Yeah, down here on verse 22. it says, I'll back up to 21. He strictly warned him to command them to say this to no one, and saying the son of Adam has to suffer much and to be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and to be killed and to be raised the third day. The third Yom. If he had waited till the first day of the week, when it got dark, that would have been the fourth night, or even the beginning of the fourth Yom. And he didn't say that. He said he would be raised on the third Yom. See what I'm saying? And so that's why I'm kind of changing my mind. At least I am, that he was actually resurrected an hour before the fourth day came. And that would have been fulfill scripture, his prophecy, that to be raised on the third Yom, not the fourth Yom. See that? And that would have been the fourth night as well. He said 3 nights and 3 days. Everybody with me on that? That's why I changed my mind on that. I know some of you heard me say that in the past, that he was resurrected right after they got dark on Shabbat. And the reason on the first day, and the reason I was saying that is because that's Bikurim. That's his resurrection. You know, the waving of the sheaf, the barley sheaf is symbolic of his resurrection. But when we take a closer look at it, well, I think we need to back up a little bit and say, wait a minute. He said the third Yom, not the fourth Yom. Nowhere in scripture does it say he was raised on the fourth Yom. So he was resurrected, and then it became dark, and then he became the barley sheaf offering, the waving of the sheaf. And that celebrated that entire fourth Yom. All right? Yeah, it is. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Y'all absorb that, take that in, and we'll move on. Okay, Phil.
Verse 23. And he said to them all, if anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake daily and follow me.
Okay, what does that mean? Here again, Christianity tells us, it says that take up his cross daily and follow me. They say cross. So what is this telling us? Phyllis?
It means get up and move, because your stake is something you took with you when you went traveling. So he says, get up, move, let's go.
David?
This is what like dawned upon me, like it was spoken to me 3 years ago, is the word repent. And where it says deny himself and take up his stake daily and follow him. I mean, 100%, and just focusing on him. And it's, sort of like what Phyllis was saying with, carrying that with you as a reminder. But yeah, it's the big deny yourself and take it up daily and just do it 100%. Think about it 100%. And that's my my take on it.
Okay, so is that saying to actually take up a wooden beam?
No.
Every day, or take up the cross every day? Think on his death every day. Follow him. There's a caption here for those of you that has the BYNB. It says nautical terminology to set sail. So take up your stake or raise your sail, all right, or lower your sail and raise the mast, whatever. And same as weigh anchor or pull up the anchor. We're going to get going, right? So it's not really telling us to take up the cross, is it? As uninformed teachers teach. Joshua?
No, nothing to add to that. I was just, nope.
Okay.
Had it and lost it.
Everybody picking up what Scripture's laying down on that one? Any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? Everybody understanding that? most people don't realize that the Hebrew were nautical people, man. You know, they were seafarers. You know, they did a lot of sailing out on the Mediterranean Sea, and did a lot of fishing too. You know, in Galilee, Lake Galilee, Sea of Galilee, and all that. Just so we know, and we were all clear on this, the Sea of Galilee is not a salt sea. It's not a sea. They just call it that. It's actually a freshwater lake.
Oh.
So you know. Okay, so look, you know, Scripture concentrates on the different jobs of people, their different skills. Like you have the farmers, agricultural group, you have the seafaring group, the sailors and stuff, which there was a lot of them. And then there were the farmers, you know, the shepherds with the flocks of the animals and stuff like that. So you can see throughout scriptures, Yahusha relating to these different occupations. That's the word I was trying to think of, as he, you know, explains his persona to them, explains himself to them through their occupations. And so this is why he's speaking to, remember where they're at? They're up north where the river comes into the Sea of Galilee. And now he's speaking to primarily a lot of fishermen. And so he's used a nautical term here to relate to their occupation for them to understand what he was saying. So he says, let's set sail, you know, weigh anchor, pull up the anchor every day. Let's get moving. It's nothing to do with a cross. Go ahead, Davey.
Oh no, I was just getting ready for the next verse because it's it's awesome.
Anyway, are we all good with that one? Let's go, Phil.
Verse 24, for whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake shall save it. For what is a man profited if he gains all the world, and he himself destroyed or lost? For
okay,
okay.
What's that mean? For whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake shall save it. What's that mean? That seems kind of strange, doesn't it?
Is it implying of a future persecution? And
I could be. I think there's some more direct meaning here in what he's saying.
Putting the daily cares of life before him, getting entangled in the carbon copy world instead of the spiritual world, which is the most important.
Yep.
Anybody else? So it's kind of like what Yahusha told Peter and them, right? To leave everything and follow me, right? And so you're giving up your life in your pursuit of riches, pursuit of advancing yourself, to satisfy your flesh, and you're leaving all that behind, and so you lose your life. And so in other words, you're no longer living to better yourself and advance beyond other people, right? So whoever dies with the most toys wins type attitude. And what you're really doing here is giving all that up and pursuing him, pursuing Yahuwah, and being a servant of Yahuwah. So whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it through profit and gain and so forth and so on. If you're going to pursue that, then you're going to lose your life, because you're going to be thrown into Gehenna, which is an idiom for the lake of fire, which is an idiom in itself, meaning non-existence. But here, because he goes on and explains it in verse 25, for what is a man profit if he gains all the world and is himself destroyed or lost? See that? So he kind of explains that. If you wish to save your life, by profiting and gaining worldly possessions and positions and power, you're going to lose your life if you pursue those things, the things of the flesh wants, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the possessions of this world. But whoever loses his life just gives all that up and follows him, for my sake, shall save it, because you're going to be delivered from the lake of fire and you're going to have eternal life. Everybody saying that? Hey, let's move on, Phil.
26. For whoever is ashamed of me and my words, of him the son of Adam shall be ashamed when he comes to in his esteem, and in the Father's, and of the set apart messengers. But truly I say unto you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death at all till they see the reign of Yahuwah.
Okay,
and
stop.
It came to be. Okay.
So what does this mean here? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words, of him, the son of Adam shall be ashamed when he comes in his esteem, and in his Father's, and of the set apart messengers. What's that mean?
It means you're going to get back what you give. If you're not out there displaying affection for the Basora and telling others about it, and you're lukewarm, and then that's exactly what's going to happen to you when he returns. And he's going to look at you with the same eyes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Phyllis.
I talk to people, and you'd be surprised how many people, including one of my sisters, that they know the true name. And then they say, and I know you've heard this before, well, nobody will know what I'm talking about if I use his name. And my response to that is, well, it's on you to teach that name.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are ashamed of his name and embarrassed about it, then he's going to be ashamed of you and embarrassed over you.
Anybody else?
It's like, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
It's like my mom's Catholic, and she only talks to about this to a degree. And Phyllis, she pretty much said like 75% of what I was going to say, so that's awesome. And like even talking to my friends at the churches that I was attending, I still play bass at a Baptist church, and I still go to that Christian shop. It's like I literally just felt it upon me to just jump in the deep end. And that's why when I go in there, I have my out, and I always the best right out, and I have everything, because if I talk against it or I'm ashamed of the truth, one, does that show that I think it's the truth? And two, how is that contributing to anybody? Because I'm just watching them go down the wrong path. You know what I mean? And it's scary, but I find the more that I'm learning that, but Phil has pretty much said everything that I was going to say. So besides that, thank you.
You see where it says in the set apart messengers? Right there at the end of that. What's that mean?
Ghosts, spirits.
And so, and when he comes in his esteem, then obviously that is his second coming, right? That's his appearance of his second coming, and he's going to be esteemed. And so as and it says his esteem, and in his Father's esteem, this is when everybody's going to realize that he's Yahuwah. Okay, it'll be steamed. And of the set apart messengers, which means that when he comes back, the army that's coming back with him are messengers, or the Malachim.
Mhm.
They're not, this is actually debunking the rapture.
Yep.
Because according to the rapture doctrine, and he comes back with all the saints that he raptured away before the tribulation year. But that's not what scripture teaches. It says he's coming back with his army of messengers. See that? Which is the angels or the Malachim or the watchers that are in the spiritual realm with him. So it kind of debunks rapture here as well. Everybody seeing that? Any questions, thoughts?
You're saying that the set apart messengers could not be the saints, correct?
Correct. Yeah, messenger is in this situation here is referring to the Malachim, armies in the Shemayim.
Who never had human lives here on earth. Right.
Yeah, they were never human. They were spiritual creatures. Only a third of the spiritual, the messengers, rebelled. Satan he took a third with him, so 2/3 are still with Yahuwah in the spiritual realm. And come back on white horses. Any thoughts on that? Any comments, questions? Has anybody gone up into the Shemayim except he who has ascended or descended?
Elijah. And
where'd Elijah go?
Yeah, he went up. Yep.
He's up in heaven?
Yep.
He could be. It says he's in paradise. What's paradise?
The New Jerusalem?
Jelly?
Eden.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he be in Eden where Adam and Eve were?
Yeah, that's paradise. So possibly he's in the Garden of Eden. Was the Garden of Eden destroyed? No, it wasn't destroyed. It's still there. It's just being guarded. The entrance to it's being guarded, which means it must be in the spiritual realm. Anybody else? Go ahead, Kate.
Well, according to Yehukanan 3:13, it says, "And no one has gone up into the heaven except he who came down from the heaven, the son of Adam." So I would have to say he was in Eden.
Yeah, where'd the horses come from? All those white horses that the 2/3 of the Malachim are coming back with Yahusha on, and even Yahusha himself's on a white horse. Where are they coming from? In the spiritual realm? You think? Or are they in the Garden of Eden? Have they been in the Garden of Eden procreating as they were commanded to do?
Oh.
Was Adam and Kua commanded to procreate when they were in the garden or after they were thrown out of the garden? When did they receive the command to multiply?
After
they were thrown out? No. Well, they were in the garden. Did they? No, because tradition has it that they fell on the third day after the Shabbat. They never had time to procreate, but they were commanded to do so. And so when they were thrown out of the garden, he didn't take away that command to procreate, which is an amazing thing to think about, because if you really think closely about that, Yahuwah allowed sin to multiply by allowing them to procreate after they throwed out. Why would he do such a thing as letting sin multiply? Kate?
Well, I think that Adam and Kua could have just been destroyed, being though they disobeyed, and he could have easily made another couple. But that doesn't prove the point that Hashatan has brought up, that Yahuwah had lied to you and you would be made like Elohim if you eat of the fruit. So there's a point to be proven here, and the matter has to be settled for all time. And it doesn't get settled if you just start over with another couple.
That's good. Go ahead, Davey.
I'm just curious, what's the Natsarim's opinions on the Apocrypha books? I didn't know if that's something that we support or something that we don't. And the reason is because if you read the Adam and Canoa book, it talks about how even after a lie, they're casted out. And then it was almost like Satan, I forgot the real name of him, I'm sorry, kept going against them to tempt them and to scare them. And then, when Cain was casted down, and how it was almost like Satan kept going through and creating more monsters to, and even Cain's descendants, and the whole concept of the wars and the evils that was going on. But Adam Kahua, they stayed up north, and then Shem, it was Shem, right? Was up with them, and to say stay here and stick here and don't be tempted into the world, until the fact that eventually all their children eventually just fell back into it. So, but again, I didn't know whether we follow the Apocrypha or not, if we think it's just extra books. It just goes into deep detail about that.
Well, I'd say everybody has their different opinions of that. There's different, there's nothing solid. I mean, we're not a religion or sorts, but we're all in a relationship with our Creator as far as that goes. So we listen to Him. But, I guess my opinion, I will say, is that unless you have a solid foundation and good understanding of the Basor of Yahuwah, you should leave them alone, because they'll get you sidetracked. If you understand, if you have a good foundation and your belief is solid, and you want to read those outside sources, go for it, but don't stay out there. Don't make those your religion, as a lot of people do. A lot of people read Enoch, and before you know it, that's all they're talking about. They're acting like Enoch's scripture, and they don't even allude to scripture anymore. It's all about Enoch in the calendar and all this. It's like, wait a minute, let's get back to talking about Yahusha. Okay, you got lost out there somewhere, man. Don't get lost out there. And that's why I say, unless you have a really good foundation and good understanding of the reign of Yahuwah and the Basora of Yahusha, you shouldn't even go there. It's too influential on people's minds. Now, the book of like Jasper is mentioned in scriptures,
right?
And a few other things, I would say, but I don't want to get really too much into it, but it's to me, it's between you and Yahuwah and where your mind is. And I would tell any new person to avoid it like the plague, because you could easily be influenced and get off track. If your mind's right, you go out there and read, say, Enoch or Jasper or something, And then you can say, okay, well, that was interesting, and then get back into scriptures where you belong, come back home. You're good to go. But
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I've seen so many people get into the Apocrypha, the Enoch and stuff, and get stuck out there. Like they don't even talk about Yahushua anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a sad thing to see. And the reason that happens to them is because they went venturing off to these outside sources, which really, I understand Yasher is mentioned in scripture. We talked about that last night. But most of these things are pseudepigrapha writings, which means that these writings ascribed of various types scriptures were written within 200 years before or after Natsarim writings, so they can't be authentic.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? So that just means there's someone out there pretending like they're that author that wrote that book. They're pretending to be that person, and so they feel they have a good enough understanding of how that person's opinion was that they could write for them. See what I mean? And so it's not authentic. There's no autograph attached to that, which means it's iffy at best.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So it's where your mind is, I guess. I mean, you're in your own personal relationship. Listen to Yahushua, not man.
Yeah.
If he wants you to go and read those and get a good understanding of them so that you can communicate better with the lost, then do it. He's not going to put a bigger burden on you than you can handle.
It's like that's the thing about that. It gives it more of a backstory, because I know, everybody, that's when I became, and I'm sorry to keep talking. When I became a believer, it was almost like everybody's talking about all these stories, and I'm like, it's fascinating that the majority of the stories that they have movies and shows about are all in the first, couple chapters of Bereshit, or is that right, for Genesis? And it's just amazing. And then when I was it was actually the Hallelujah scriptures, I got a copy of the PDF, and that's where I was reading the Apocrypha, or at least the Adam and Enoch one. And I'm just like, that actually makes a lot of sense, but I just didn't want to get, like you said, I never wanted to get sidetracked. So I was just curious about the interpretation, which makes sense. So this is great. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, the book of Jasper's, found in Joshua. I mean, we talked about that last night. So the book of Jasper, it mentions when Yahuwah stopped the sun in the middle of the day and the moon. It's in the book of Jasper. And so we find that in Joshua as well, that event. And it says so.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Phyllis.
Dave, when Paul, or it might have been Peter, was talking to the leaders of Rome, I believe, he was using Enoch. He was saying it was written in Enoch, but the reason he was using that for an example is because they believed in Enoch, and he was saying, well, even your own writings will say this. He never claimed it was his writing. He claimed Enoch was their writings.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Got some major echo going on.
I think it's Jilly.
Yeah, make sure we control our mics, guys. If you're not speaking, turn your mic off.
That means you too, Dave.
Is that echo gone now? Is it gone, Joshua? No echo?
Okay. It's usually when two people have the. No, it's not gone.
Is maybe somebody still has YouTube on?
No, it's you. It's you. Turn your speaker off.
Well, let me go out then. I'll go out and come back. Hang on a minute.
Phyllis will just straight up tell you, man, it's you, you know.
Hey, I don't pull any punches.
I love Phyllis. She's just awesome.
No, I am recovering from a black eye from a couple months ago.
Can you hear me now?
Lying on Sabbath there, Phil.
Can you hear me now? The echo gone? Okay. Any more further comments, thoughts, questions on this up to this point? Anything that's jumping out at you that you want to ask? Okay, let's go on then, Phil.
Verse 28, and it came to be about 8 yeomen after these words, taking with him Kepha and Euchanan and Jacob. He went up to the mountain to pray. And it came to be, as he prayed, the appearance of his face changed, and his garment dazzling white. And see, 2 men were talking with him, who were Musha and Eliyahu, who, having appeared in esteem, spoke of his death, which was about to complete at Jerusalem. But Kepha and those with him were heavy with sleep, and having awakened, they saw his esteem and the 2 men standing by him. And it came to be, as they were parting from him, Kepha said to Yahusha, Master, is it good for us to be here? And let us make 3 booths, one for you, and one for Musha, and one for Eliyahu, not knowing what he'd said. And he was saying this, a cloud came and overshadowed them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. And a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, the beloved, hear him. And when the voice had spoken, Yahusha was found alone, and they were silent, and reported to no one in those yeomen any of what they had seen.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so this is an interesting situation here. Yahusha said back in 27, but truly I say to you, there are some standing here who shall not taste death at all till they see the reign of Yahuwah. Okay, so we know back here in the beginning of this chapter that he told them to proclaim the reign of Yahuwah, and they did, and so did he. And so now he's saying some people ain't going to die until they see the reign of Yahuwah, which we know is spiritual, right? And so if they see it, it's a reality, right? And so starting here and staying in context, Kepha, Yehukanan, and Jacob was with him at this transfiguration, and when he appeared in appearance, his face changed and his garment became dazzling white. His face shone like the sun. And then there was 2 men with him, Moses and Elijah, and appeared with him. And at this point, because it's in context, do you think that they just got a glimpse of the reign of Yahuwah and the eternal reign? And this would fulfill this prediction, this prophecy. And so he gave the prediction, the prophecy, to clue them in and saying that some of them here would not taste death until they see the reign of Yahuwah. So these 3 men that were the insiders of his Talmudim group would witness the reign of Yahuwah and actually see Elijah and Moshe in it. And if so, how could that be? Somebody?
Could you simplify the question?
Yeah. He says here in 27 that some standing here shall not taste death at all till they see the reign of Yahuwah. Did Peter, Yehukanan, and Jacob see the reign of Yahuwah when they were with him on the Mount of Olives when he transfigurated and had a body of light his face shone as the sun. Go ahead, Phyllis.
You know what? We're combining that with the appearance, because it says that it was after 8 days later that this appearance at the mountain happened. That was these two, his statement of that and the appearance are separate. I think we need to know who he was talking to when he said, there are some standing here who shall not taste death. Who was with him? Who was he talking to?
He would have been talking to the 12. So if we back up to 20, remember when he asked them, who do you say I am? And Peter said, the Mashiach of Elohim.
Okay.
And then it goes on down and down. And then, is he still talking to that same 12?
Then he could be referring to John again, like we talked about earlier.
Yes. He could be referring to Elazar. Okay. But see, that's the one. That's the point. That's what I'm asking y'all. This prediction, he gave this prediction, and then 8 days later, these three men saw this transfiguration. Is that the fulfillment of that prediction, or was Elazar standing there with the 12? And he was talking about Elazar. It doesn't say Elazar was there, but is that what he was talking about? That Elazar would remain alive until the reign of Yahuwah came, which would be the eternal reign. If Elazar is one of the two witnesses, he dies when the anti-Mashiach comes on the scene. See what I'm saying? So I guess that's what I'm asking you. You mentioned the 8 days, right? Go to Matthew. Everybody go to Matthew 17. Look what Matthew 17:1 says. Matthew 17:1. It's on page 1051. 1051 in my book. And after 6 days, Yahusha took Kepha and Jacob and Yehuchanan, his brother, so these would be the sons of thunder, and brought them up on a high mountain by themselves. And he was transformed before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his garments became as white as the light. And see, Moshe and Eliyahu appeared to them, talking with him. And Kepha answering said to Yahusha, Master, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, let us make 3 booths, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Elijah. Isn't that interesting? That they're saying it's after 6 days, but here in Luke it's saying after 8 days. But really, does it really say after 8 days? Up here in 17:1 it says, and after 6 Yamim, Matthew being one of the 12. And here, it really doesn't say that. And so what it does say, and it became to be about 8 days.
Yep.
So Luke really didn't know. He said around 8 days. That's what he got from speaking to eyewitnesses.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? So he really didn't know. But Matthew knew, and he said after 6 days, which would have been what? The 7th day, maybe? After 6 complete days. So it's not really a controversy or anything. We just need to see that, because people will point to that. See, look, this is 6, this is 8, so that proves that scriptures is not accurate. Well, no, it don't. Not at all. It proves that Luke really didn't know. He just said about 8 days. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I was going to say it doesn't really give you any reference, because in this case he talks about some of you will not taste death. And okay, I'm sorry, I was confused.
No, you were on target. So it's pretty clear. I mean, we could look at Mark's account as well. It's in Mark 9. But Mark wasn't an eyewitness either, remember? Just Matthew was. We go to Mark 9. It's in 2 to 8. It says, and after 6 days, Yahusha took Kepha, Jacob, and Yehukanan and led them up a high mountain alone by themselves, and he was transformed before them, and his garments became shiny, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launder on earth is able to whiten. So extremely clean and bright. And there appeared to them Elijah and Moshe, and they were talking with Yahusha. And Kepha responding said to Yahusha, Rabbi, is it good for us to be here? And let us make 3 booths, one for you and one for Moshe and one for Elijah, because he did not know what to say, for they were exceedingly terrified. Okay, so it's amazing that Mark and Matthew have these guys awake and seeing this, and Luke puts them to heavy sleep. But Kepha and those with him were heavy with sleep, and having awakened, they saw his esteem in the 2 men standing by him. And so if they were asleep, how did they know what he spoke? Up in 31 says, who having appeared in esteem spoke of his death, which he was about to complete at Jerusalem. How did they know what he said if they were in heavy sleep? Remember what we're dealing here with, a secondhand witness versus eyewitness. But Mark was not an eyewitness either. But him and Matthew agree somewhat, especially with the 6th day, after the 6th day. Go ahead, Davey.
Well, no, it's things like that come up, like especially like I got in a discussion with someone that talked about the lineage, right, of Yahusha, and it's interesting because if you look at the way that Luke, because he was like a doctor, right, and then the way that other people, you get the stories together and you actually look at the descendants, and one's missing a woman because back then you would only put the name of the husband instead, and so it actually does line up. So there's things like that, like you're saying, that don't line up, but understanding the context, like you're saying, completely explains them. So I'm really glad you pointed that out about this, because I was questioning about the days. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, and so we in Matthew and Mark, it doesn't say that they anything about what they were talking about. You only find that in Luke.
Yeah.
But Luke kind of contradicts itself in a way, because he says they were sleeping. And having awakened, they saw his esteem in the 2 men. So how would they know what they were talking about? They're talking about his death that was going to happen in Jerusalem. And this is where Christianity comes up with, they were there comforted in him. Like he was some kind of a weak demi-God. See what I'm saying? That's what they're saying. He needed these 2 men to come and comfort him because he was having a nervous breakdown over what he had to do. Basically, is what they're teaching you. Well, how do they know what they were talking about? Matthew and Mark doesn't say. Only Luke says that they were talking about the death. So why did you suppose Luke put that in there? What's the answer to that? Well, it could have been that when he was going around speaking to eyewitnesses, trying to compound the happenings here of Yahusha, what happened to Yahusha and everything, maybe he asked somebody, he said, what were they talking about? And they may have said, well, really, I didn't hear it because we had fallen asleep. But later on, we asked Yahusha what he was talking to them about, and that's what he told us. And so Luke wrote it down. Okay, it's only common sense. It's not written. We can't confirm that. But how else would they know what he was saying if they were having sleep? Well, apparently they must have asked him later on. One of those 3, Kepha or Yehukanan or Jacob, and he must have said, we were talking about my death. And that's maybe one of them related that to Luke as he was going around collecting information. And that's why he wrote it in there. He's the only one that wrote what they were talking about. But the question I'm asking here, did this glimpse into eternity, which I believe this is what this was, fulfill the prediction 6 days beforehand in verse 27. Or can we say that Eleazar was with them? Because it says some standing here, which would have to be, if it was speaking of Eleazar, it would be singular. And this is obviously plural. There are some standing here, and I taste death it out. This would have to put Eleazar with this group. And there's nothing telling us that Eleazar was there. Nothing saying that at all. So that would be pure speculation on our part to say it's about Eleazar, would it not? If he wasn't standing there with those 12 and Yahusha, then it can't be speaking of Eleazar. And there's nothing indicating in any of these accounts that Eleazar was standing there with them. So in context, he did this prediction, and 6 days later, or about 8 days later, the prediction came true. And these people saw the eternal reign. And Elijah and Moshe was in the eternal reign speaking with Yahusha in the eternal reign, and they saw it, which fulfilled that prophecy. Is there any questions, thoughts, or comments on that? So some people say that, or I think Christianity kind of says that he summoned Elijah and Moses down from heaven to comfort him because he was greatly distressed on having to die. Like he was a weak semi or demi-God. And this can't be so. Number one, they're not in heaven. Okay. Elijah, probably in paradise. Moshe died. So he would have had to resurrect Moshe for him to be there. So when would this resurrection take place? Would have to be after the judgment, the second resurrection, right? I guess he could be in the first resurrection. He could be the bride. It could be a possibility. I guess that they were seeing the millennium reign here. But I want to say it was more into the eternal reign. Because the eternal reign is the reign of Yahuwah. The millennium reign is the reign of Yahusha for 1,000 years. It's his reward for coming and suffering like he did. And he came as a servant and he suffered greatly the first time. Did he not? Wasn't he put to shame? Beat, whipped, spit on, kicked, punched, briars put on his head, nailed to a stake. He came as a lowly servant, not to judge anyone, not to destroy the lives of men, but to save them. But on his second coming, he's coming back as a fierce warrior. He's coming back in his full esteem as the King of Kings and the Sovereign of Sovereigns and the Master of Masters. Whole different situation when he comes back, right? So they get a glimpse of the reign of Yahuwah, and Moshe and Elijah's in it. Notice here where it's that what Kepha says. So Kepha says, "Oh, you want me to make 3 booths, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah?" And it says, not knowing what he said. So Kepha was blown away. His mind was tore up. He didn't know what to do. And so instead of seeing them as immortals or spiritual people in the reign of Yahuwah, he was seeing them as a man that needed shelter, men that needed, common shelter, because he didn't know what to think of the situation. So these men then must not have been glowing like Yahusha. So they must have looked like just ordinary, normal men. And Yahusha then must have brought them there either from their error, passing through the tenses to that particular point in time and sent them back into their error as a man, or they got a glimpse into the reign of Yahuwah, into the eternal reign. Which one do y'all think it is? Based on context, what do you think it is?
I think they got a glimpse into the eternal reign.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Davey. Can't hear you, bro.
After you explained it that way, it seems like the eternal reign. Because then that also, the whole thing that you were saying before about how they'll still be alive to see that eternal reign, and that was generations ago. So that makes complete sense. It must be the eternal reign.
Right. Okay. Everybody picking up what I'm laying down on that one. Any more questions, comments, or thoughts? Okay, Phil, let's move on.
Verse 37. And it came to be on the next Yom, when they had come down from the mountain, that a large crowds met him. And see, a man from the crowds cried out, saying, Teacher, I beg you, look at my son, for he is my only child. And see, a ruach seizes him, and he suddenly cries out, and it convulses him with foaming, and scarcely leaves him, bruising him. And I begged your talisman to cast it out, but they were unable. And Yahusha answering said, Generation, unbelieving and perverse, how long shall I be with you and put up with you? Bring your son here. And as he was still coming, the demon threw him down in convulsions. And Yahusha rebuked the unclean ruach and healed the child and gave him back to his father. And they were all amazed at, the greatness of Elohim. And while all were marveling at all that Yahusha did, he said to his talisman, Lay up your ears these words, for the son of Adam is about to be delivered into the hands of men. But they did not understand this saying, and it was veiled from them, so that they did not perceive it. And they were afraid to ask him about this saying. And a dispute rose among them, who might be greater of them. And Yahusha, having seen the reasoning in their heart, took a little child and placed him by his side, and said to them, Whoever receives this little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. For he who is the least among you all, he shall be great. And Yuchanan answering him said, Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we forbade them because he did not follow with us. But Yahusha said to him, Do not forbid him, for he who is not against us is for us.
Okay, hang on a minute.
Okay. Same as the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so unbelievable that he just told them that he would have to be delivered into the hands of men, and they knew that he was the Mashiach of Elohim because Peter already said that that's who he thinks that he is. And so, but they didn't understand that he was sent to die and to bleed, for the sins of the world. And so they were afraid to ask him what he meant by that he was about to be delivered into the hands of men, and sacrificed. And so they kept quiet about that. And then the weird thing happens. They start disputing among themselves who might be the greatest of them after he's gone. Who's going to take charge? Who's going to be the leader after he leaves? Well, nobody's the leader. Scripture says, don't call nobody leader. We only have one leader, and that's Yahusha. Don't call anybody rabbi. We only have one teacher. Don't call anybody father, because there's only one father in the Shemayim. And don't call anybody leader, because we don't follow anyone but Yahusha. But yet all of a sudden, these people are obviously still in the mind of the flesh here, start arguing about who's the greater of them, who's going to take charge, who's going to be the leader after he goes, which is extremely crazy that they would do something like that. And then what's even more wild is Yahusha takes a little child, brings him to his side, and says, whoever receives this little child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me, which would be Yahuwah. For he who is least among you all, he shall be the greatest. What's that mean? And why? Why do you tell them that? The least of you is the greatest. They're wondering who's the greatest. He says, I'll tell you who the greatest is. The one that's acting like this little child, behaving like this little child, believing in me like a child. That's the greatest. The most humble is the greatest of all you. What do you think their reaction to that was? What do you think they thought when he said that to them?
Sure, it burst their bubble, maybe.
Yeah.
Because the human condition is, look what I've done, and you have to push that back, as we've talked about in the past. You have to put that esteem away. It's a destroyer.
Yeah, I think I would say, yeah, it humbled them pretty quickly.
Yep.
And all the ones that thought they were better than the other ones and they should be the boss realized, I'm going to be the least. It's definitely got their minds smoking for sure. It's a great lesson for us as well. And we start thinking we're better than somebody else, or more righteous or more obedient than somebody else. We're kidding ourselves. We've just put ourselves at the end of the line. So we remain humble and walk with Yahuwah in humbleness, humility. Yehukanan said, Master, this blows my mind, because after he told him this, Yehukanan comes out with, Master, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we forbid him because he does not follow with us. I mean, what's he thinking here saying that? I mean, it's kind of strange. Is he changing the subject to get away from that real quickly, or is for some, is he trying to figure out, that the person that's not with them is below them? It's kind of weird that he said that. It was his response to Yahuwah teaching them that whoever is least among you shall be great, and whoever's greatest will be last, But anyway, he asks this, and he said, he's casting out demons in your name, and we forbid him because he does not follow with us. And Yahusha said, and do not forbid him, for he who is not against us is for us. What's going on here? This man's driving out demons. Don't really say who he is. In the name of Yahusha. He's doing it in the name of Yahusha. In Yahusha's name. He's driving out demons. And apparently, by using Yahusha's name, these demons are listening to this guy. Right? And he's casting them out. Obviously, they're listening to him. Somehow they're respecting him, giving him this authority over them. And I mean, recognizing the authority over them. So they forbid them because they did not follow with us. What does that mean? Well, they're not in their group. The guy's not a part of their group. What does that mean? Jill?
I think what his point here is that he's saying don't take something good and turn it into something bad. He's doing good work. He's doing positive work of what their goal is to heal and be fruitful, and don't take away from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In Acts 19, we see a similar example of this, where there's the sons of the Pharisees are trying to cast out demons, and but they don't listen. They're trying to do it in Yahusha's name, but the demons don't listen, and they rip his clothes off and beat him up. What do you think the difference is here between this man that they were listening to, and he was
Belief.
casting them up, Yahusha?
Belief.
The man's belief.
Belief.
And so what were the other ones doing, you think, in Acts 19?
Just trying to use his name, but there was no belief behind it.
Yeah, that's right. So is everybody familiar with that in Acts 19? Go ahead, Jill.
I'm thinking this whole passage that we just read here is showing in the beginning, where they're showing the man's son didn't get the demons removed because of his disbelief, and showing Yahusha being upset, disgusted with the people for not believing, and then using that opportunity to pick up the child and put the child up and show them, this is how you're supposed to act and be, and this is how your walk should be, using the disbelief as a comparison and an opportunity for a lesson to show them how to be and how to believe, in a simple fashion. Like, don't make it so difficult. It's a simple way to do it, and here's how.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody look over to Acts 19 real quick. Verse 11. It says, and Elohim worked unusual miracles through the hands of Paul. So you see, it wasn't Paul doing the miracles, it was Yahuwah working through his chosen vessel, which was Paul. And so that even handkerchiefs or aprons were brought from his body to the sick, and the diseases left them, and the wicked ruachs went out of them. So was it the smell of Paul, the odor of Paul, that was healing the diseases and driving the demons out? No, it was the perfume scent of the Ruach HaKodesh, of life, smell of life, that drove them out. Because to them, Paul was smelled like death, and they took off. But really, it was the smell of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is life to us. But to them, it was the smell of death, the fragrance of death. Okay, and so, but certain roving Yehudi exorcists took it up upon themselves to call on the name of the Master Yahusha, over whom those whom had wicked ruach, saying, we exorcise you in you by Yahusha, whom Paul proclaims. That's kind of amazing, right? They said that. And there were 7 sons of a certain Skua, or a priest, a Yehuda chief priest, who were doing this. And the wicked ruachs answering said, Yahusha I know, and Paul I know, but who are you? And the man in whom the wicked ruach was leaped on them, overpowered them, and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. Okay, so here these men didn't have any belief, and they wanted to do it. You not only usurper Yahusha's power, but also that they believed Paul had power to do this, and so not to mention they didn't have the Ruach to help them. Paul did, and of course Yahusha was the Ruach, and so not only were these people trying to usurp power that they didn't have, they had no belief. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said, in the name of Yahusha, whom Paul proclaims. What about them? Why weren't they proclaiming him and believing in the power of his name? Well, obviously they didn't. And that's why they said in the name of who Paul proclaims, Yahusha, who Paul is proclaiming. So them demons saw no authority here whatsoever given to these sons of these priests. Maybe they thought they had this power because they were the sons of the priest, and that gave them special privileges or powers over demons. But they found out that he didn't. But back here in Luke, this man was driving these demons out in the name of Yahusha, and they were listening to him. Obviously. And we forbid him because he does not follow with us. And Yahusha said, do not forbid him. He who is not against us is for us. So why do you suppose the Talmud forbid this man and told him to stop driving out demons in the name of Yahusha? I mean, their excuse was because he isn't with us. He's not in our circle, direct circle. But why did they really forbid this man? Do you suppose?
Ego.
Ego could have something to do with it. What else?
They didn't know.
They didn't what?
They didn't know. They didn't know
what?
That people outside their group would have the like the power to do so and stuff.
That's a very good point. That's a really good point. Okay, so they didn't realize that people outside of the group had this power. So how did this man have this power? How did he obtain the authority to drive out demons and demons to listen to him? How did he get it? He's not in their group.
I think it goes back to belief again, you know.
Jill?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Belief. They believe, so I guess they received the Ruach HaKodesh.
Yeah. I'd say that Ruach HaKodesh was working with this man, and that's why he was with them. You know, although he was separated from their group, Ruach was definitely working with this man, because this man would not be able to do this on his own account, even in the name of Yahusha. He wouldn't have been able to. And so through his belief, the Ruach was working through the hands of this man, just like he did through the hands of Paul. It was doing unusual miracles. Everybody seeing it? Is there any questions or comments or thoughts on behind this? Okay, let's continue on, Phil.
Verse 51, and it came to be when the yeoman, his rising up, were being completed, even he set his face to go to Jerusalem. And he sent his messengers ahead of him. And they went and entered into the village of the Shamarim to prepare for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was set on a journey to Jerusalem. And his Taladim, Jacob and Euchanan, seeing it, said, Master, do you wish us to command fire to come down from heaven and destroy them, as Elihu did? But having turned, he rebuked them and said, You do not know of what Ruach you are, for the Son of Adam did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went on to another village. And it came to be...
Okay, so obviously talking about the sons of thunder.
I was just thinking that. I'm sorry. That's awesome. Sorry.
And the sons of thunder wanted to bring fire down and destroy these people. And Yahusha rebuked them, which means he corrected them. He didn't condemn them or curse them. That's not what rebuke is. It's just that he corrected them. Okay, so he corrected them. You do not know what ruach you are. What's he talking about? What you should mean by that? Go ahead, Jill.
Our job is to show love even to our enemies, not violence.
Oh, she said that.
Yeah. So here, what kind of spirit are they showing?
Evil.
He's saying you don't know what ruach you are. What kind of ruach are they portraying here?
The ruach of darkness.
Yep.
Phyllis?
I was just going to say the ruach of this world because they're thinking worldly.
Yeah. He didn't come to destroy man's lives, but to save them. And so their spirit, they were under the influence of destroy, so they were still had in their mind that the Mashiach was supposed to come and avenge them and remove their oppression from their captives, right? The ones that were holding them in captivity, which would have been the Roman soldiers and their enemies. And so they were under this spirit of revenge, destroy, kill, this type of deal, right? Which would be the spirit of this world. And Yahusha said it pretty clear. He didn't come in to destroy men's lives, but to save them. They went on to another village. So here the personality of the sons of thunder is put on full display. Could somebody who acts like this be given the nickname the pupil whom Yahusha loved? It'd kind of be a contrast to their personality displayed here, wouldn't it not be? Okay. Let's continue on, Phil.
Verse 57. And it came to be as they journeyed on the way that someone said to him, Master, I shall follow you wherever you go. And Yahusha said to him, the foxes have holes and the birds of the skies have nests, but the Son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. And he said to another, follow me. But he said, Master, let me go first and bury my father. And Yahusha said to him, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and announce the reign of Yahuwah. And another also said, Master, I shall follow you, but let me first say goodbye to those in my house. But Yahusha said to him, no one having put his hand on the plow and looking back is fit for the reign of Yahuwah.
All right, thanks, Phil. Okay, so what's the message here? What's Yahuwah saying? What's Yahusha trying to say here? What's the true value of this message?
They must act quickly because the time is short, as it is now with us, and we must not let other things get in our way of our mission.
Go ahead, Jill.
I think he's saying once you hear and understand, once you've seen the spirit of Yahusha and Yahuwah, that you're not to fall away back into the world and the way you were, that you need to keep moving forward.
Go ahead, Davey.
It's sort of like the way that I look at it. It's once you know you're accountable, and it's almost scary because some people be like, well, maybe I shouldn't just know it. It's like a lot of people that don't want to listen. Now they have their excuses and they could be comfortable in those excuses. But he's saying right here, as far as what I'm getting, is that this is the way it is. You know what I mean? You got to give it 100%, and you got to go. You got to let go of the past. Like it's like Satan going to bury, his family and stuff like that. It's like, nah, man, you have to focus on now and this opportunity, to do it the right way. That's what I get out of it.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Kate.
Well, that you're about to make a choice, and you need to make a forward walking choice, and that others that may be your family or your friends are making backward walking choices. And it's not up to you to walk backwards to meet them. They should follow in your steps and take the forward walking choices to meet you. If they can't do that, you need to leave them behind.
Really good. Anybody else? Looks like Yahusha's looking for a full commitment here, isn't he? Go ahead, Phyllis.
Well, this first one, the going. The foxes. The foxes have holes, and the birds of the sky have nests. This follower, but the son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. This follower thought that he was just going to be, Yahusha was just going to take care of him, and all he had to do was follow him, and everything was going to be laid out for him. But Yahusha let him know real quick, we're poverty bound. We don't have comfort right now. We're too busy.
It seems like to me it's like a complete separation of the material world. Like you can't be in the fleshly mind. You gotta commit to that, the ruach and what it means and where you're at and where this place, this world is going to be but a distant memory anyways. It's a vapor, that comes and goes, and the reality is that the day of Yahuwah is to come, and the millennium reign comes, and then the eternal reign. So there's more important fish to fry, I guess, is the point. Complete detachment from this material, fleshly world.
Yep.
Anybody else got any thoughts on that? It says, yeah, there was definitely different people saying that they'd follow him, like Phyllis pointed out, and he had a different response for each one of them. He must have knew their heart, knew what was in their mind, because his response to each one of them that said that would follow him, he knew what was in their heart. As he told that one guy, he said, "Follow me," and he wanted to go bury his dad, and he said, "Let the dead bury their dead." And another said, "I shall follow you, but let me first say goodbye to his family that was in his house." And you should, no one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the reign of Yahuwah. This kind of reminds me of Lot's wife, right? When she looked back into the world like she was going to miss it, that she was longing for her past life. She was going to miss it, and so she looked back at it to see the destruction of her life, and she got turned into a pillar of salt. But I think if we look at all this together, it brings us back over here to where we were discussing over here in 24. For whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake shall save it. Right? That means he wants a quick decision. He wants a commitment immediately. He doesn't want anything to hinder you or cause you to go back the other way, away from him. You want to follow me? Let's go. Drop your life, give up your life, and follow me. Let's go. We ain't got time for you to go back and tinker around in your old life. More important things to do here, right? So all good responses, and very interesting Yahushua's responses as well to people that want to follow him. I'm amazed that let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and announce the reign of Yahuwah. What does that one mean?
It means they're already dead.
Yeah, they're the walking dead, huh? All right, they're the walking dead. They're although they're alive, they're dead. They just don't know that because they're going to be thrown in Gehenna.
It's sort of difficult.
In which way?
Well, it's like no, but that's what he meant. But if you put yourself in the person's like position, it's like why can't I just go bury my relative? That's where like no, you can't question things like that. You have to follow him 100%. But I try to put myself in that situation. Like, say if it was my parent that just died or something, you know what I mean? But to have that much faith and that much truth, and that the 100% to say, okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Definitely not easy, but I mean, if that's the most difficult thing at the time, it just makes you think about it. Like you said, you got to do it. You can't just do it halfway. I mean, here's our chance to be saved. Here's our chance to do it the right way. So it just makes me think about how difficult that would be for those people. But, awesome.
And maybe also the creator, Yahuwah's telling us something by that, by telling us that death isn't that important, maybe, you know what I mean? It's kind of in some way that not to dwell on death, I mean, if people are going to be resurrected, then I guess you shouldn't really fear death too much, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be nervousness and everything else when it comes down, when it's everybody's time. But at the end of the day, I don't see anywhere in Scripture where it's the importance is on death itself, and I don't know. Maybe it's kind of actually, in a way, it's kind of reassuring that he's telling people to do that, to just don't even worry about burying your whoever. It's as if it's not a big deal. So follow me. That's the big deal, so.
Awesome. I like that.
You're muted, Mark.
Well, I think we're going to end this today here at this chapter. We'll go into the 10th chapter next week. And everybody was really, I think everybody was keen on what was going on here. And we all did a fantastic job here interpreting what's been written. And we all found the true value of these lessons within this chapter, which was very impressive. So thanks for coming and participating in this study. I love seeing every single one of you. I'm glad you're on here, Jill. I was hoping to see you again. And Dave, nice meeting you, and please come back.
Thank you. You're welcome. I
Thank
appreciate
you. It's a privilege to be here. I
Absolutely.
thoroughly enjoy it. Very thankful.
Yeah.
that
And
this is
last night,
available and for your work. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any comments?
Oh, I was just going to say, make sure you guys come back. I appreciated your insights. So
Yeah.
it's always nice to have.
Except now I want fried fish, Josh. I'm like, fried fish. Yeah, I'll have some. All right.
Go ahead, Davey.
it is so nice to be in a room with y'all and listen to you and actually to talk to you. And it's an honor for me to do this. And I like to finally this is just so awesome. So thank you all again for your welcome and for I'm just so excited. This is just great. I really appreciate it. This is something I look forward to every week. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
I have a hawk flying around on the patio. I've got to go get a picture of it. I'll be back.
I love Phyllis. She's so awesome. I called her up right after I did the immersion, and she was just so excited. It's great. Anyway,
where did you immerse at?
There's a pool. I'm in an apartment complex, and I saw it, and it was like I was thinking about this the day of the eclipse, and something was like, I wanted to make sure that I was saying the right thing and everything, so I wrote out what I wanted to say, and it was like 4:00, 4:20, and I walked outside, and I just went to the pool, and I stood there, and I looked up, and I said it, and I asked him into my heart, and I asked him, and I dunked myself backwards, and then I just sort of went down and just sat under the water for a little bit to come up and to just sort of walk home, to do that. And I'm all drippy, right? But I emailed Phyllis to let her know that I'm like, hey, I don't really have anybody else to tell about this because, my friends know I'm following Natsarim and everything, but, they question everything. And it's like, I just told her that. It was great. And then she called, and it was just awesome. So, yeah, it was
nice, man.
Yeah, I question everything and I pay attention to everything, and just the way that I feel right now, it's fascinating. Even temptation is gone, and it's like, even because I'm a single guy and like whatever, and it's I was playing an open mic the other night, and it's so different now. It really is. It's crazy. Just the difference between being baptized in the name, or being immersed in the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha, as opposed to like, I've been baptized at a Baptist church a couple years ago. I was baptized as a Catholic when I was born. And it's like, you have to do it the right way and do it to the right person, not just a false idol or a false title. And it's just proof. It's proof that what you all are teaching and what we're learning is the truth, and it's just so it's so nice to have people that you understand. It's so great, because I just had these little nudges of wait a minute, how is the Bible written in Greece that nobody spoke Greek, or what I mean, it just stuff like that, and just going through.
There's a lot of disconnects, and
yep.
And it's never explained to you by anybody ever, and you're just expected to just put your head down and do what you're supposed to, and not question it. And I get you, man. I think all of us here have been through that at some point,
Awesome. But, and I'm trying to get off since Saturdays, because I work, but what I'm able to do now is shift my schedule 3 times a month to do this. But when the next shift big comes up, I'm definitely pushing that off, because I see the importance of it. But that's why I love that he's doing this, because at first I'm like, wait a minute, why is it Friday? And I'm like, oh yeah, sundown. You know what I mean? Sabbath starts on the sundown. So that's why I just sort of sat and listened to y'all and was just chatting, because well, of course it's all we can do, but yeah, thank you. Seriously.
You're going to get a lot out of this. So if I were you, I would continue to come and listen to Mark. Is just a very short period of time for me has instilled so much. So
awesome. And
just when you read scriptures in the way that they're supposed to be read in the context, context is everything. And it's really nice for me to actually have a break. We spend a lot of time and we all have input, which I think is important, because, you go to a church and you sit there and you can't say nothing, you just, the guy says something and you're like, okay, you take it as whatever he says is, and then that's where it ends, and it's like, even if we're not, none of us are always right, none of us are always wrong, it's kind of like, it's a nice thing to have, to be able to have that input. I think that's one of the most important parts about this whole thing, is people get to let off what's on their mind, and then Mark can kind of guide them in the right direction, or it's just nice. So yeah, man, appreciate you coming on. And with that, I'm going to get on out of here. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks for letting me talk and everything. And I'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. Cool.
Bye, Josh. Well, when one person leaves, everybody starts leaving at the same time. I was wanting to ask Josh some questions and he's gone. Listen, I just saw a red-shouldered hawk take off with one of my birds, and I'm not happy.
I don't want to laugh at that. That's sad. Maybe he was just taking them out for a ride, like hey, let me show you around.
Right. He had him pinned down on my patio. Pinned him down on my patio.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Phil. Can you stick around when the time comes and take us all out with the priestly blessing when everybody's ready to go? Sure. It's on page 159 in there. It's page 159. It would be in number 6. 6, 22 through 27.
Okay.
Numbers chapter 6, 22, 27, the priestly blessing, 159. I gotta get out of here for a minute. So if you guys are ready to leave, take them out with the priestly blessing, please.
Okay, I'll do it now. Okay, be quiet. Sorry, I didn't know my.
You want to do it now?
I'll do it right now.
Okay.
And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, this is how you bless the children of Israel. Say to them, Yahuwah bless you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I myself shall bless them." Amen.
Hallelujah.
Praise
Hashem Yahuwah.
Love you all. Thank you.
Love you all.
Cool.
Dave, do you know what Baruch Haba Hashem Yahuwah means?
Blessed be the name who comes in the name of Yahuwah.
All right. Blessed is he who comes in the name of Yahuwah.
Awesome. I'm learning.
Hallelujah.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.